someone else.
But you understand,
and
though,
a young guy eventually.
And listen, if Antonio Brown came to Jacksonville, obviously that's going to be an upgrade at the wide receiver position. Anybody would be stupid not to say that.
Upgrade will be the best wide receiver you've had here in 14 years.
A long time, correct. But at the same time, if we do bring him here, we got to let other guys go, Brent. You just can't make this all-star FanDuel type team where you get all these high-skill guys and have to have consequences. I mean, if we bring him here, then say goodbye to Malik Jackson. I think you say goodbye
You're already saying goodbye to Malik.
We're not positive on that yet.
Yes.
I think you say goodbye to Marcel Darius.
Questionable.
They're going to keep him? I mean, do you know, like, and listen, I don't have the numbers in front of me with the salary cap and whatnot, but assuming that Antonio Brown's looking for what he's looking for, it's going to be about $24 million.
He's under contract.
Yeah.
It's going to cost the Steelers more money to get rid of him.
But if we bring him in, that's like a $20 million investment, at least.
It'll be a big dollar investment, and you have to trade for him, too. Hey, by the way, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Brett Martineau. That's Austin Lane over there. Justin Couzard as well with us. Couz is here. And got to love when they give us some stuff, some material on a Tuesday afternoon. Yesterday it was Kareem Hunt and Kyler Murray, and those topics have not died down. Today it's Antonio Brown. And let's play a little fantasy football, Couz. You like number 84?
Why not, you know? I'm all about here's something that I've realized in doing the podcast in general. When there's an idea to add like a big name or do something huge to a team, I'm always about it because I'm like a kid. I like the shiny new toy. I like the idea of it.
Can you imagine if you go get Antonio Brown and then somehow you take the bold move of picking Kyler Murray as well in the draft? So you had Kyler Murray and Antonio Brown. I mean, Jacksonville will be the talk of the NFL.
I mean, once again, Brent, we're kind of living in fantasy land here because we have to ask, what's it going to take to get Antonio Brown here? Obviously, we probably have to give up some draft picks. Now, a first-round draft pick for Antonio Brown, are you willing to sacrifice that?
No, you're not going to have to give up first-round draft pick.
Second, third?
I'll give up anything after a first, yeah.
So you'd give him a second-round pick for sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I already did my mock draft, and I'm taking A.J. Brown in the second round. Do you want Antonio Brown or do you want A.J. Brown? I'll take Antonio. I mean, listen, the bottom line is what makes you good? What makes you great? What puts you in a position? Now, I know the stuff that comes with Antonio Brown. There's baggage. Will he want to be a part of Jacksonville? Well, yeah, probably not, but he doesn't get that choice. He's going to go out and play, and you'll have some headaches. Again, there's parts of this that people are missing. And it's twofold. One is the fact that you can get all the quarterbacks you want. But if you have Leonard Fournette as your only viable, really good player, and that's even in question at times, well then, I don't care what quarterback you give me. I really don't. You better put some people around him. Yeah, D.D. Westbrook's a nice player. Marquise Lee, you hope he's healthier. DJ Chark, maybe he'll come into his own. You see the ifs, ands, and buts around that? There's too many of them. I know there's no ifs, ands, and buts about the way Antonio Brown plays. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler, and he's arguably the best receiver in the game. So I like the fact that I am going to add to that and give whatever quarterback. Heck, I'd almost at this point rather you keep Blake Bortles and get Antonio Brown. I just want somebody to make plays, and I know a quarterback by himself can't make plays. And Foles can't do it, Flacco can't do it, Haskins can't do it, Kyler Murray might be able to do it with his legs from time to time, but you're not putting him in a situation to succeed either. You need weapons. The other part of this that people are missing is this is all in, man. They need to win. These guys need to win, or they're done in Jacksonville. So, yeah, it's risky business to get a guy that is a prima donna and can really upset a locker room on the heels of a year where you had some things in a locker room that didn't really sit well. But at the end of the day, it comes down to making plays on a football field and being a playmaker. And I'll put up with some of the headaches to get a playmaker. And, yeah, we have to do some of the math. We're going to spend a ton on the quarterback position in Jacksonville this year. That's what's going to happen. Spend less and get me Antonio Brown. That's my point. I don't care about Nick Foles anymore. Don't get Nick Foles then. Get a Teddy Bridgewater, or if you want your Tyrod Taylor, who I don't want, but if you want him, go ahead and get him. But I want a playmaker for whatever quarterback you're bringing in for now and the future, and this guy still can make plays in the NFL as good as anybody in the NFL.
It's almost like breaks my heart for the fact that I'm trying to like reel you in a little bit and trying to, pulling the reins on you, because usually I'm the guy that's like, I have the imagination and I'm the free thinker here, but And listen, I said Antonio Brown would be great here, but you're not taking into account would he even fit in here? Would he? Let's try to analyze it from this point of view. He didn't work out in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had a legit quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger. They had a legit passing game with obviously the emergence of Juju Smith-Schuster. Vance McDonald kind of came out at the end of the season. And then they also have a running game, and I get it. You can point to, well, Bell wasn't there. Obviously, that's kind of a red flag. Well, James Conner came in and did this pretty much same thing as Bell did. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, James Conner isn't Le'Veon Bell, okay? He's never going to be like that. But they had success in the run game as well, and they have the offensive line, and they have a pretty solid defense. So if you're telling me that Antonio Brown wants out of Pittsburgh, that situation, what makes you think he's going to come to Jacksonville and just be all hunky-dory, excited to play and put on that Jaguars uniform?
Yeah, I can't promise you that. I can't, but I guess we're going to have to find out. I think he likes to play football. I think what happened in Pittsburgh, and I've said this multiple times, I said it last year when we were up there for the playoffs, is they're a living soap opera every day. And that wears on people. And Antonio Brown was part of that soap opera, don't get me wrong. But the guy that really doesn't get, we still don't know how much Ben Roethlisberger has to play in that whole role either. And he gets kind of covered up because he's the quarterback and they're not doing anything with him. So whether it's Le'Veon Bell, whether it's some of their defensive players, whether it's Antonio Brown, I get it. It's a living soap opera. They have to fix that up there, and I think that's part of the reason they didn't win. But I can guarantee you this, with the playmakers this offense has right now, they're not winning either. So if you can give me some playmakers, very few have arrived in Jacksonville on the offensive side of the football in the last decade or so. So if you can give me some playmakers and get me them, and it makes sense, and you're not giving up the whole franchise, and you're not doing something stupid, well, I want to explore it, and I really want to entertain it. And again, I think everybody's all in on the quarterbacks. Everybody's in on this Nick Foles, even if you give him $22 million. And we all have the same feeling about Nick Foles. We think he's the best one of what's out there, yet we really don't have a ton of confidence that he's the guy for the next 8 years. I think we all agree that. Deep down, everybody's hoping and praying that he's become Rich Gannon and has a second life and now all of a sudden is a star in the NFL. I don't think any of us, truth be told, would wager our paycheck on that being the case. So give me a quarterback that's more mid-level where you save $6 or $7 million here or there and put it toward an Antonio Brown. I'd rather have that. I want weapons on this team because I still think it's a very unsure thing at the QB position no matter what. And I know it's an unsure thing at the QB position if you don't have anybody to go make plays for that QB.
From a skill position, there's no doubt Antonio Brown's one of the most skilled one receivers you're ever going to see in the NFL, especially now. I agree with that. But what do we always talk about this past season with the Jacksonville Jaguars? Leadership. They were not disciplined in the locker room. They weren't disciplined on the field. And that caused a lot of losses, especially in the close games. So we bring in Antonio Brown. Is that going to help the leadership or is that going to hurt the leadership, Brent?
I don't have a good answer. I don't know.
I don't see it helping. My opinion.
Here's what helps everything. Winning. And that's why it was so bad last year. It was 5-11 and disappointing off high expectations. It went worse because of that. It would have been better if they won. If they were 11-5, we wouldn't have talked about the locker room as much. I know that. We won't talk about Antonio Brown off the field as much if he's scoring touchdowns every week and the Jags are on the better side of the scoreboard. What would it cost for Antonio Brown? Let's try to figure that out, what people are saying about it, and what do you think about it? You can chime in, 362-9901. You can get us on all the different social media platforms, and we'll read and share some of the tweets that you've had back and forth over the last couple of hours, too. We're just getting warmed up. AB to Duval. Let's make it happen on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 new and used on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you can buy a 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. During the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, you can buy a 2019 Toyota CHR from $16,988. That's a pre-owned 2019 Toyota CHR from just $16,988. Check out Arlington's free iPreCheck service. Powered by TransUnion, the easy way to check your real credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Arlington Toyota is giving away $100 plus $500 off a new or used vehicle purchase. Follow Arlington Toyota on Facebook and Twitter to be the first to track the Toyota and claim your prize. From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690. This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Hey, welcome back. We're trying to get Antonio Brown to the Jacksonville Jaguars. At least I am. We just got one heck of a rain shower out there.
Yeah,
now the sun's out.
That was loud, man. I can hear it on the headphones and everything. And that guy's still on his ladder outside, too, by the way.
He is still there.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
No, apparently
he
not.
doesn't even need an umbrella in the rain.
Guess not. And his suit is still looking good.
Brent Martineau, along with Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart, Kuz here. Stuart Weber probably join us in just a little bit as well. And we are headed to the phone lines early on a Tuesday afternoon. Let's welcome in Mike Mitchell to the show. Now, let's double check right here. This isn't the Mike Mitchell that got waved at by Leonard Fournette, right?
No. I am not a tall, athletic football player. I am. Brett, you sat behind me at the hockey game. I'm the big whiteboard dude.
Is this a whiteboard madness right here? Is this like a challenge you have to Austin Lane, or is this really a football comment?
Well, no, they're football comment because, I mean, you guys can have AB, but you're not going to get him for anything other than a first. You know the Rooney. You're not going to trade him just because they're going to get the value that they want. And he is the cancer. It's been glossed over for years because he's been doing so well, and it wasn't that bad. Now it's getting bad. I mean, he didn't show up for his trial today, and was found guilty for that speeding ticket.
Yeah, it was
didn't even bother to show up.
100 miles an hour too, right?
Yep.
Hey, as long as he runs as fast as he drives, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but you guys have enough problems. I mean, I think Leonard Fournette's kind of the same kind of guy. He just hasn't fully exposed himself yet. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I hope for my wife's sake I'm wrong because she's a big Jags fan. But, Austin, I hope you can come out to the Iceman game tomorrow night. I think it would be fun for us to take turns heckling the guys in the penalty box and see who has the better heckling game. And it's hope you don't take anything personal when I talk crap.
Dude, not at all, first of all. I appreciate the call. I think I saw you on Twitter last night talking a little bit of smack to me, in which I obviously retaliated right back. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take a rain check tomorrow because I do have my MMA training still. I have a fight coming up here in March that I can't really announce yet, but hopefully the contract gets signed soon. But I'd love to take you up on that offer and kind of have a little back and forth whiteboard segment with you. So hopefully if there's something going on in April, man, I will definitely be there.
Hey, Mike, what's
playoffs, and that's when.
Mike, what do they call you? Do you have like a nickname down there with the whiteboard?
Yeah, they call me Mr. Whiteboard.
Just Mr. Whiteboard, okay.
Yeah.
So at least we didn't call Austin that, right? It's just whiteboard magic that we're using.
Yeah, that would be gimmick infringement. You know.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm also a big wrestling fan, Austin. So I can't wait for Double or Nothing myself. So
Hey, man,
there we go.
We appreciate it, and thanks for
guys.
checking in on it, Mike Mitchell, who, by the way, does sit right near the sin bin with the whiteboard. I've sat a couple rows behind him before at the Iceman game, and he chides the opposing player in the penalty box from time to time. So he's got a little thing, and he was afraid that you were infringing on his territory.
Yeah, I know. He acts like he's the first guy to ever come up with the whiteboard segment. But, okay, regardless of that, I think Woody Page from Final, what was that? Around the Horn back on ESPN back in the day, Woody Page?
Yeah, it would have been. I think he had
a thing. Yeah, I think he had a thing
he
for
did
a while
have a whiteboard.
too.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's been done before.
We don't like Woody Page around here.
Oh, we don't. Oh, that's right. He had some bad things to say about the Jags.
Yeah.
Sorry for bringing him up then. But anyways, I was gonna say I hope I see Mr. Whiteboard guy if I'm actually on the ice playing for the Jacksonville Icemen. That's kind of the ultimate goal. I feel like, Brent.
That's still a possibility. You're holding out hope.
I'm hoping so, man. I'd love to put on the skates one more time and see if I can hang out with the minor league hockey players.
Maybe you can. All right. Antonio Brown, and interesting comments from Mike. He did talk some football, too, about being the cancer in that room. And, maybe he is. And I get what he's saying about, listen, the Rooney's just waited out this whole Le'Veon Bell thing, too. Mm-hmm. So the Steelers are patient. They're not going to just give him up. I think would be even some talk. Are they going to give him up to a team that potentially could impact them in the postseason like the Jags did last year? Mm-hmm. Now with the Jags falling to 5-11, maybe that's a little less likely. I would be shocked if they gave him up to the Patriots.
Oh, there's no way.
Or somebody in the AFC North.
Yeah.
So, they would like to ship him out to San Francisco or someone like that.
Somebody in the NFC.
And listen, I think Antonio Brown would like that too, but I can tell you this part of it. They are not trying to do whatever Antonio Brown wants. Mm-hmm. They could care less what Antonio Brown thinks, right, if they do trade him. So, this is Brown trying to force moves that allows us to discuss it and figure out, hey, what if? And I'm just a big believer in this football team needs weapons. And I've pounced on that a lot in the last few weeks with all this quarterback talk as well. And Antonio Brown at 31 years old, I think still has a lot left. He has proven that he is as dynamic as they come, as great as they come in this NFL. And what you don't think about a lot of times when you sign a guy is just how much better he makes the other people. So how much better does he make a D.D. Westbrook, potentially a healthy Marquise Lee, a Leonard Fournette? Like, we talk about it a lot that, okay, Leonard Fournette is the eyes of a defense right now. That's the only guy you game plan for. That's it. D.D. Westbrook had a nice season, made some plays, but they don't game plan for D.D. Westbrook. And so you game plan for Leonard Fournette. Well, this changes things. Now you have to start. What do the Jags do when they go play Pittsburgh? Who's the first guy they look at? Not Le'Veon Bell. They look at, how are we defending Antonio Brown? Are we going to follow him with Jalen Ramsey? Are we going to split the coverage? What are we going to do with number 84? That's what this Jags offense has been missing for so long, is what do you do to defend a player on that side of the ball? And outside of running back, Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew, now Leonard Fournette. Man, it's been tough. Justin Blackmon, I think, was the closest to that, but even then he wasn't here long enough to prove that he was that. You have to go back to the amount of weapons they had back in like the 05 season when Jimmy Smith was playing, and all the weapons that great offense of the Jags had late 90s, early 2000s.
And as far as the ability to game plan with Antonio Brown, I mean, yes, he is the number one guy you got to watch out for. That was obviously very evident this season, where he probably didn't put up, his all-pro numbers like he had a couple years ago. But the fact was, Smith-Schuster had an all-star year.
Fantastic.
I mean, had a Pro Bowl year. And that was kind of the result, I think, of teams trying to get on Antonio Brown, and obviously double team him and whatnot. And then they found ways to use Smith-Schuster. Like, listen, we don't know if Smith-Schuster is going to be a legit bona fide one yet. Like, we're not even sold on that part of it yet. So, and maybe we'll see. Who knows? Maybe Brown's going to stay in Pittsburgh. We really don't know yet what's going to happen with that. But Brown does have the ability to game plan around and making other receivers open as well. So as far as that point, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're the best receiver in the NFL, you're going to have those issues and whatnot. But it's like I said, I'm still cautious to the attitude standpoint. I'm cautious to, I guess, just the cost it would take to get him. I mean, it reminds me kind of like, you remember when Terrell Owens was kind of bouncing around from team to team for a bit?
Yeah.
He's kind of a big distraction. And Terrell Owens had a lot of talent too. Would I put him up there towards the end of his career with Antonio Brown? Probably not. But he was still a legit one receiver. And he was going from, it was San Francisco, then I think it was to Philly, then Dallas. I mean, he's all over the place. And I don't want to say it reminds me of this, but we could be seeing this road taken here.
Well, listen, Jeffrey Grissom says, I'd love AB, but he's not coming here. We don't even know where our QB is yet in Jacksonville. It's an unattractive pick for him. He's not coming to Duval. Keep this in mind.
It's not his choice.
He's getting traded. He's not a free agent. So if you're a dance partner, and again, like, there are GMs that don't, or teams that don't like the player, and have had problems and feel like they're being held hostage, they want to send them to places that they think they'll be miserable. You know? I mean, if Jalen Ramsey wants to demand a trade around here and things go bad with Jalen Ramsey, you know where the Jags want to send him? Buffalo.
Yeah.
They don't want to send him to L.A., New England, Pittsburgh, Dallas, any of these places that you would think a guy would want to play. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you're not trying to. Now, listen, it's different with Flacco and even the Foles situation. They are appreciative of what those guys have given to their organization. They would have liked to find them a good landing spot if it fits for their football team, too, and for them. That's some of the reason why Philadelphia is considering the franchise tag so they can help control Foles. One, to keep him away from the NFC East, but also say, hey, Foles, what do you think about you can go here, you can go there. Now, Foles can do that in free agency, too. But I think he might even have a little bit of, hey, what do you think about this if there were multiple suitors?
Yep.
So it's totally different with guys like Antonio Brown. I think Mike Tomlin and the Steelers would be like, send him to the place where he does not want to go. And would Jacksonville be on that list? Well, maybe he might be on that list.
I mean, there's two theories there. It'd be send him to the place he doesn't want to go or send him to the place that gives us the most back. You know, so
well, that's it's first. I mean, by the way, that's priority.
Yes, yeah. That's always going to win. So, you know, and it's like our caller said. I mean, as far as a first round pick, I don't know if you really sacrifice a first round pick and then take on his contract. That's kind of a lot to do.
Well, what people are talking about is Amari Cooper, right? And here's the difference to me in Cooper. I know the resume speaks loudly about Brown, but there's two things going here. One, the other teams will have leverage over the Steelers. They know Brown doesn't want to play there. They know the Steelers want to get rid of him. And so they don't, like Oakland had at least some leverage in the Amari Cooper trade. And two, in-season leverage is even higher, I think, than off-season leverage because the Cowboys were trying to get better. Well, they also got a guy who's, 25, 26 years old? I mean, Antonio Brown's now 31 years old, comes with baggage, has some off-the-field instances. I think there's way less leverage with Antonio Brown, even though he's a way better player. I just feel like there's, I don't know about way better player, but he's a better player, a better resume.
He is.
I just feel like there's less leverage. So I'm not convinced you have to give up a first, especially the number 7 pick. You're not giving that up to get Antonio Brown. I wouldn't do that. But I don't think you really have to do that. I think they want to get him away from Pittsburgh. That's the whole idea. Could you give up some multiple picks and then you take on some of the salary? Who knows? That would be a play of it. Alan hates everything, which I'm sorry to say that, Alan, but on Twitter says, no Foles, please. Overrated. Just draft Haskins, release Fournette, sign Golden Tate, and Le'Veon Bell, get a good couple of tight ends in the draft and free agency.
Sign Golden Tate?
That's simple.
Is he going to be your one receiver?
But see, and that's my thing. A lot of people are saying the Le'Veon Bell stuff now too. I would 10 times rather have Antonio Brown than Le'Veon Bell.
I have to think about that one a little bit. With the state that the Jaguars are at right now, yes, because we need a wide receiver. We think we have a back in Fournette. If we didn't, we would probably ship him off and would have traded him by now. So, yes, I'd rather have Antonio Brown too right now.
And I think you're going to overpay the heck out of Le'Veon Bell.
But I wouldn't mind having Bell either.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
but
any team wouldn't mind having Bell.
And I also think Golden Tate is, I don't believe he's a number 1 wide receiver.
No.
Antonio Brown is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. Again, something this franchise has not had a lot of, and hasn't had in like 15 years. So there's a big difference in that respect. I think we have somebody's trying to say, what was it, Kuz? Send Fournette.
Telvin and Fournette for AB.
Telvin and Fournette in a trade?
Yeah.
For Antonio Brown. See, I don't like it because I want to keep Fournette in this situation. Yep. I want 2 guys that people have the game plan for.
Yeah.
Well, now you have to revamp the running back room. I still think Fournette is a good player.
Speaking of,
I don't know if he's a great player. I think he's a good player.
So I got to ask you this question before we cut to break here. What would you give up for Josh Rosen? What would you sacrifice for him?
Well, that's a good tease, Austin Lane. That's
learning,
next
Brett.
on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and another day, another chapter in the Antonio Brown saga. Today, the embattled wide receiver tweeting a goodbye to the Steelers fan base minutes later. Sources began to leak to ESPN 690.
Basically, he's informed the Steelers of their, quote, position. So he wouldn't divulge the details, but, you could probably read between the tea leaves that position probably includes wanting to be elsewhere. But I'm told he has not been released, David, and they can't make a trade until the new league year, so this could still drag on.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler covering the Steelers for us. Brown, not the only wide receiver in the headlines today, as we're now reporting the Texans plan to release Demaryius Thomas. The four-time Pro Bowler is 31 years old, currently recovering from a torn Achilles. And here's something you don't see every day. Michael Jordan stirring the pot. When asked if he was impressed by Westbrook's triple-double record or Harden's scoring this season, number 23 said he thought it was tougher to win 6 championships. Touche, Mike. Stream us online at ESPN690.com. Hit that listen live button and enjoy.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jackson, ESPN 690. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year, the 2019 Hyundai Kona. This new crossover utility vehicle is a perfect fit for a family who doesn't need as much room as the Hyundai Santa Fe, but more room than the Hyundai Elantra. Their customer service is top-notch at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, and you never have to worry about a high-pressure, haggling sales approach to you buying a car. My friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville offer the no-risk, no-pressure approach. If you don't absolutely love your new Hyundai, you can bring it back within the first 7 days for your money back. They also offer a lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Schedule a test drive today at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com or just swing by the showroom on Atlantic Boulevard. I'm confident your experience at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will be just as good as mine has been. Tell them Brent Martineau sent you and drop me a line on social media. Let me know how your experience was at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville.
Before the surgery, there's a lot of pain. Every time I would swim in a swim meet or any type of race or anything, I was like hunched over in pain.
Stetson Lane talks about her experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
And then after the surgery, I'm back to doing everything I used to do, and so I feel great now. I would definitely go back to Southeast Orthopedic. They really made me feel like I was welcomed and at home.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Lewis Black, the Joke's on Us tour.
That's what differentiates me from other comics. That I am crazier than what I see. Ball game's over.
Lewis Black, live, Friday, February 15th, 8 p.m., Florida Theater. Tickets are on sale now at the box office or at floridatheater.com.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Hey, welcome back here on a Tuesday afternoon. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Couzart. Maybe some hot takes a little bit later on. I have plenty of hot takes already. Antonio Brown, get him to Jacksonville. And the money's interesting on Antonio Brown as I look at his contract. Gosh, money is so confusing at times in the NFL. Not going to lie to you. But his base salary in this coming year is $12.5 million, essentially. Then you got a little signing. Then you got a roster, $2.5 million roster bonus that will be due on like March 17th, I think it is. There was a restructure in there. Cap hit's $22 million. Dead cap for Pittsburgh, $21 million. Yearly cash, $15 million. That's part of a 4-year deal that was worth $60 million at the time for Antonio Brown. So, again, it's feasible in terms of dollars. In 2020, his base is like $11 million. In 2021, it's $12 million. So I think the dollars actually are not as big as people say. I believe Pittsburgh would have to eat a lot of that dead cap regardless of what happens. Like, they're going to take the big hit. That's why Pittsburgh has to say, what are we getting back? What's this worth, our $20 million hit for a guy that didn't even play, much like they took, I think, last year for Le'Veon Bell.
Mm-hmm.
They still take the $14.5 million hit, even though he didn't play. So, I mean, teams, I don't know where they stand overall on dead cap money, but it factors into the equation. And like you said in the break, we were talking about it, you can always restructure things.
Mm-hmm.
And how that would, but Antonio Brown doesn't strike me as the restructuring kind of guy.
But and my point was
to save the team.
Well, my point was, if you were to bring him here, I'm not sure how many years left he has in his contract. I think it's just one, right? Or
he's got 2019, 2020, and then there's a potential out after that. But he's also under contract in 2021.
Okay.
So according to Spot Track, he is.
To him. Okay.
So I mean, yeah, he's got. You can get him until he's 33, 34 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't about 4 years down the road either. This is about the next 2 seasons. Because if I'm Doug Marrone, if I'm Dave Caldwell, if I'm Tom Coughlin, I'm thinking about the next 2 seasons. So that's why Foles is attractive, right? That's why even a Flacco has some attraction to him instead of the young quarterback. If I'm those guys sitting in the corner offices at Jags headquarters, I don't want to sit through these young guys' experiment.
Well, and forget the next 2 seasons. I mean, as far as Caldwell and the coaching staff's concerned, if they don't win this up-and-coming season, they're probably going to be gone.
That's my point.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It's just literally this season. Like, they have to perform. So, yeah, I mean, to take risks on young guys and draft picks, I mean, it is part of the NFL. But at the same time, you want to put the best product on the field as possible without taking the biggest chance, I guess you would say. That's why, the free agent quarterbacks are so appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, it's fun banter. What's interesting is I've seen articles about this Antonio Brown deal for the last month, and like the Jags are not even on the list of potential suitors. So they'll list like 8 teams, and the Jags aren't even on the list. And every time I see the article, even before today, I'm just like scratching my head. I'm like, but would you think about that a little bit more? I mean, you got a chance to get a great wide receiver that they don't come around. They're tough to get. That's why we talked about this already. The slot wide receivers are big and important in today's NFL. You know why? Because they don't make enough great wide receivers.
Yeah.
That's why. If you can't get the great one, the A.J. Greens, the Julio Jones, the Antonio Browns, well, you've got to piece it together, and part of that is that slot guy that's really effective, and I think that's why their stock has gone up. So fascinating. Well, could you do it with a new quarterback in tow, but he's already got 1 year under his belt? How about all this noise out of Arizona? Any interest in Josh Rosen if Arizona, with that top pick, goes Kyler Murray?
Listen, this is like a complete tinfoil hat segment here because we're reading into the rumors and just kind of all the facts that are laid out before
radio?
us. I know, man, but and kind of the biggest thing that's come out now is the fact that Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury share the same agent. So you can start connecting the dots there and everything. And Cliff Kingsbury has been on record saying that if he had an opportunity to draft Kyler Murray number 1, he absolutely would do that. So with Josh Rosen, what would I give up for him, I guess is the question we're on right now, right? I'm not going to give up a first-round pick for him. I haven't seen enough. And it's not fair to critique him because the situation in Arizona, their offense was a mess.
Oh, it's brutal.
They have one of the best running backs really in the game, in David Johnson. They weren't utilizing him at all.
Didn't he have some health issues a little bit last year? Was he fully healthy last year?
Last year, he was coming off injury. Yeah, this past season he was coming off injury. I'm pretty sure he was pretty healthy.
They just didn't utilize him.
Yeah, they just didn't utilize him. Once they changed coordinators, then he started to get involved a little more like that. You had a team that had Larry Fitzgerald at receiver.
An aging Larry Fitzgerald.
So as far as the weapons and whatnot, probably not a top tier offense. But at the same time, in the games that I watched him play for the Cardinals, I wasn't impressed at all.
But he was he's in a situation where this is what I scream about. I'm yelling off the mountaintop right now. Blake Bortles was in a horrendous situation when all this stuff went down. This isn't a save Blake statement. I'm just saying these quarterbacks get put in these situations where there's nothing around them. And if Josh Rosen comes here, if Flacco comes here, as it sits right now, there's Leonard Fournette and Dede Westbrook around him. That's it. Again, I'm not putting my eggs into the Marquise Lee basket. I love Marquise, but I don't know how he's coming back from a devastating knee injury. And so these guys are not in good situations to succeed, which makes it very difficult to grade them and judge them. I think in this situation, the Rosen one is really fascinating. Here's what you do if you're Dave Caldwell and the Jags. I think this is a pretty easy experiment. You basically go back. Now, they weren't looking for a quarterback necessarily last year. So did they scout him? Did they grade him? Did they at least look at him? Well, you go back and you look at your notes, and you take a look and see what you might have said grading him coming out of UCLA. And then you go back and you look at last year, but you almost throw away last year to a degree. You just say, hey, at least he got some experience, and he might have a chance to do some good things. And then you weigh whatever evaluation you have up against Dwayne Haskins, the Daniel Joneses, the Kyler Murrays, whoever's coming out this year. You don't weigh that against Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, even Teddy Bridgewater. That to me is not the comp. You actually grade Josh Rosen like he's coming out and this is a draft all over again. And if you want to give up a pick for it to help here in Jacksonville, well, then you do it and you feel comfortable with it. But I would assume, I think it's going to cost you something big. I mean, he's basically a rookie all over again. I mean, you're trading away a first-round pick, a top 5 pick. That's going to cost teams something.
It'll probably cost him a first-round pick.
That's going to cost more than Antonio Brown.
No, for sure. Agreed. So then, yeah, it begs the question, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, do you believe in Haskins more or do you believe in Rosen more?
Yeah, and I would say Haskins.
Haskins, yeah. Absolutely.
And I don't know how much. I'm not sure I was a big fan of Rosen coming out anyway. Not a huge fan. Okay, but didn't really do much for me. I'd almost at this point rather be curious about Haskins than what I've seen from Rosen. And again, that's not very fair for Rosen.
It's not a giant sample size at all.
And with nothing around him.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't get the vibe from Rosen. And I don't know how much of that's it. I always say this about Arizona. They're kind of, they're this like irrelevant organization at times. And so you just don't even pay attention to it. You don't really watch it. They're not in prime time a lot. They were bad. So you almost dismiss what it is out there and from the Rosen's perspective. And I just think they really have to go back to the well of scouting to really see where they have them. And
this is all speculation too. You know, I mean, Rosen might stay in Arizona, and Arizona might go in a different direction in the draft. So we don't really know what's going to happen with that yet. But you know, since we're kind of on the whole tinfoil hat segment here, I guess you could call it. This also begs the question too, because there are some rumors and stuff and some things on social media regarding Derek Carr and the Oakland Raiders. What are your thoughts about Derek Carr, and would you give up I don't want to say maybe a second round? Because I don't think a first round pick you're going to go up for Derek Carr.
No, I don't think so either.
But what would you sacrifice for Derek Carr?
Well, I don't know if I would sacrifice a whole bunch. I know they did scout him, and back in the day, Dave Caldwell, the scouting staff, not Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, not the John DeFilippo, although he probably had some thoughts on him too, wherever he was at that moment. But I remember at that time the conversation being they were not super high on Derek Carr. Remember, they picked Bortles in that draft, and Carr went in the second round. Now, they obviously have
Carr's had
4 years. He's had an okay career. He's had really one great year, and outside of that, he's been injury-prone and I think disappointing. And you got to see once again, once you take Amari Cooper away and you took some of his people away, that he was bad. Because it's hard to function as a QB with nothing around you, and that was a lot of the case in 2018. I think what's fascinating is we're asking it from the Jags' point of view, and so my answer to you is I don't think Derek Carr's in play for the Jags. I think they would rather go with a Nick Foles or someone like that, to be honest with you. I really do. That's what I believe.
So as far as, like, I guess we would say your free agent power rankings, obviously Foles is number one. Then you put Flacco. Then below Flacco would be Derek Carr? Or no, probably Teddy Bridgewater and then Derek Carr.
No, I would put Carr ahead of Teddy Bridgewater, but there's something we have that's so important here is what you're giving up.
Exactly.
You have to give up a lot more, most likely, to get Carr. You might not have to give up anything to get Foles. I think you have to give up far less, if anything, to get Flacco because he probably will get released, or you could trade something like a 7th-round pick for him just so they get something. But Derek Carr is going to cost you more, and he's making big bucks. He's getting overpaid. He's overpaid for what he's delivered so far. I think the other fascinating part of this we'll get into a little bit later is what really are the Raiders and the Cardinals going to do in that situation? Like, what would you do if you were them?
Yeah.
Because to me, Kyler Murray's interesting on both fronts for both of those teams picking in the top 5. More football talk to come. I want to get into a little baseball as well. But you know what this week is? Daytona 500 week. I'm going to go a little racing right after this on ESPN 690.
News 104.5 WOKV is now exclusively on 104.5 FM. News 104.5 WOKV is where you'll find the latest breaking news, First Alert Storm Center coverage, and traffic alerts. 690 is where you'll find the home of the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN 690, featuring Golick and Wingo in the morning, Dan Levitard, and Stephen A. Smith. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Wow, winter's finally hit us. It's Stan Nagel with Energy Seal Foam Insulation. Are you tired of your heat going right out through the attic? Or if your home is off grade, we know it's freezing. Let Energy Seal come out today and seal up your sub-4s so you have a toasty home this winter. Spray foam insulation really does work. Seal in your energy with Energy Seal Foam Insulation, and right now save 25% off our regular rates. Call today, 888-306-3626, or look us up on the web at EnergySealToday.com. We're Energy Seal, sealing in energy and saving you money.
On February 17th, the stage will be set for racing's greatest day, the Daytona 500. A day that delivers four-wide excitement, legendary moments, and unforgettable finishes. A day that keeps you on the edge of your seat and that you'll remember forever. The greatest race awaits. Experience the thrill of the Daytona 500 in person. Guarantee your seats before they sell out at Daytona500.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks here on ESPN 690. And although the focus has shifted a little bit from football and heading into basketball season, maybe even baseball season, we have not lost our focus on helping you get the best car buying experience. If you haven't been to see my friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, you've got to see this new state-of-the-art showroom and meet their fantastic people. Beyond that, if you're thinking about buying a new or pre-owned car, you really should go see the team at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. I'm really confident you'll find their approach to be a breath of fresh air. Take it from me. I drive a Hyundai, and my friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville emphasize a no-risk and no-pressure approach. They offer a limited lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States, and if you're not 100% satisfied with your vehicle for any reason, you can bring it back within the first 7 days for your money back. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is located on Atlantic Boulevard. You can schedule a test drive today at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
This weekend is All-Star Weekend.
Big man, right down the middle, the Red Sea parts, and he jams it home.
All-Star Weekend on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Presented by Boost Mobile.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Hey, welcome back here to the program on a Tuesday. What's the magic whiteboard say, Austin Lane?
Do you want to know or not?
I don't know because I can't see it right now.
I like my NASCAR like I like my Hooters wings. Daytona.
Daytona style.
Daytona style.
Very good. I like that. Very good tie-in with a little Daytona 500 week ahead, but there's a lot more racing down there as well, including a bike race we're going to tell you about on Thursday. Let's welcome into the program right now Scott Lagacy Jr. Hey, man, how you doing?
Good. How you been?
Hey, good to catch up with you. I know we always catch up around this time of year. I've been fantastic. We got a new radio show here on ESPN 690. I think you can hear it down there in St. Augustine loud and clear.
Excited for you, and it is that time of year again.
Yeah, you tell us a little bit about the vibes for you. You've got this event coming up on Thursday we'll talk about, but you're also getting back in the car this weekend. What's the offseason been like for you, and what's just the excitement level to get another season started?
Off season's chaotic to say the least. I decided to do some road racing last year and kind of following my dad's footsteps in that regards, and drove for a team out of Virginia with way more success than I think either of us were expecting, and which was really neat. And through the off season, we've decided to move everything from Virginia to Florida here to the new shop that Art in Motion had built that we were racing out of. So it's been a chaotic, to say the least, but in a good way.
I remember talking to you last year about that. You really wanted to get back on the dirt side of things, so you're pretty excited about. You sound excited about how that's gone, and is that something you can do for a long time to come?
Yeah. So on the dirt side, we will get back to that. We are dragging our feet a little bit, and only because the Trans Am series, this road race series, it's turned out to be a big deal. It's growing fast. It's run all over the country. Some really neat places. Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca, California, all over the place. So for me, I enjoy that. See new places, new challenges, and it really is eating more time than I was expecting, but I'm enjoying it for sure.
How do you juggle all the different styles? Right, I mean, from the Xfinity race to the dirt to everything. And I know, and again, and the bike, but but that's a little bit different. But it seems like to me, outside looking in, they all have their unique skill set and style. Is that true?
They do, and it's hard. It's difficult because you want to be the best at all of them, and if you put more focus into one than the other, you'll probably be better at that than the other. But I've been lucky, very, very fortunate to drive for good people, good teams, and win at all of them. So it's, I think the trick is just the better people you're around, the lesser you can be, right?
Yeah, very good, very true.
And I prefer to be the weak link in the deal, and that's, it makes it a lot more fun that way. I enjoy that. Doing something different every week, and yeah, it probably hurts me on the NASCAR side. I'm not putting 100% of focus there, but and arguably it probably pays a lot better to be over there full time. But I think I'm kind of old school, I guess, and love the racing every bit. And you'd be amazed how difficult it is to show up against guys that do it all the time at their racetrack and try to run with them. It's humbling.
Hey, Scott, Austin Lane here. So I think I've always kind of been curious with drivers is, in most sports we have an in-season and an off-season. And in the off-season, it's all about getting your body right. It's, getting your body in tune to the up-and-coming season. By the sound of it, I mean, you're so busy, you don't have an off-season. But do you follow like a specific workout or something like that? Or do you obviously watch your diet? Because with driving, it seems like it's a pretty mentally taxing sport, but it's got to be pretty physically taxing sport as well.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's surprisingly tougher than I would have thought on both sides, and that's I enjoy it. That's honestly where the cycling came from. I'm one of the bigger drivers, so I don't typically need to put a lot of mass on. So I started looking at things other than basketball that I would enjoy that wouldn't beat me up so bad, because I'm the guy that's going to take the leap into the bleachers for a rec league game, and it's just, and I only say that because I did it, so, and guys are, what are you doing? Well, it was like I had a shot, right? So that was my go-to, but I realized that, I still do it, but I needed to find some other things. So the cycling happened. Luckily, a lot of friends do it, and it's enjoyable. It's mentally and physically challenging a lot more so than I again would have imagined. And so I spend a lot of time on a bike. You'll see me, and I laugh about this because the first time I ever rode a bike, I didn't wear spandex, and I was too macho for it, and I paid the price of not doing it, and so I'll sport it now with the best of them, I guess.
Scott Lagasse Jr. with us here, of course, from St. Augustine, a local driver, if you will. We always keep an eye on throughout the racing season, but Daytona week, Speed Weeks down there. We'll be at the track, in fact, on Friday. TV side will be down there tomorrow for Media Day, Thursday for the duels, and all weekend long for the big events, including the Daytona 500 on Sunday. But let's talk more about this cycling, because on Thursday, Valentine's Day morning, you have this Champions Ride for Bicycle Safety. You've been doing this for a few years now, and you kind of connect with folks that are trying to bring awareness to bicycle safety. That's a big deal. We see it in the state of Florida a lot. A lot of people injured riding bikes and cycling, doing what they love to do. but cars are not always aware, especially with distracted driving now. Tell us a little bit about your event coming up on Thursday morning and how people can get involved.
Yeah, it's a big week for me. It's really, I'm excited about this weekend. There's quite a bit going on. You know, the bike ride is like you said, Thursday, and that's humbling. I did that, started it 5 years ago, and it's really just a group of us get together and ride, and for nothing more than to raise awareness for being smart on your bike, both from a rider standpoint and then, you know, to humanize the cyclist in regards to those not good at all interactions, you know. So that's fun. We end up with quite a neat little crew, drivers, triathletes, Olympians, motocross racers, cyclists, IndyCar racers, sports car drivers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and it's way fun for me because it's a lot of heroes of mine or people that I've been shocked that jumped on board, and honestly, they come on their own nickel to help me out, and it's been fun. The track has been amazing to let us make a lap around the racetrack, but it's kind of fun. Started as a tight-knit little group, and it's we're unfortunately capped in regards to invites because of just the logistics of the ride, but that's, I guess, good, right? We're 5 years into it, so a lot of fun for me. And then I'm gonna go straight from that to Friday, getting in the Xfinity car, which I am pumped about. It's going to be a really good car. We've got a conservative strategy going into the race, but I think that's what it's going to take if you watch in years past. So we won't be too aggressive early on, but get to the end, and it's good. It'll be good enough to go for a win. So I'm excited about that. And you add into that Rimrock Devlin Group is stepping on board, which is a Jacksonville-based company, which is kind of cool.
Very
you know,
cool.
That's not normal for me. Normally I'm driving for, you know, companies from all over the country. And so to have a kind of a local tie is neat. And then they added one nice little spin on it for me here just literally a day ago. I got word on this one, and that is there was space on the car left, and Micah and Wally from the Rimrock Devlin Group stepped up and are putting Jay's Fund on there. So excited to have the Coughlins involved with that, and obviously the cancer thing is something that's very close to me after going through it. So big week.
Well, and by the way, Tom Coughlin, J Fund being a part of that's really awesome. That's great stuff. Good for you to have
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. We'll be talking to you later in the week about that too. We'll be down there on Friday, and of course on the TV side of things. You know, you just brought up cancer close to you. Austin wanted to ask you a little bit about it.
Well, Scott, I mean, I got to ask you, man. So, is it true that you were cycling, and the only reason why you figured out that you had colon cancer was the fact that you were big into cycling, I guess, basically you could say, with the seat and everything, and that's kind of how you figured out you had cancer. So I wanted to ask you about that, and then obviously, what was that, you know, the transition like to, you know, getting treated and whatnot, and just what did that special kid Reese King exactly mean to you?
Yeah, so it's man, I could sit here and talk all day about that, but luckiest person alive. You know, and that's probably what makes the J Fund so personal to me is I was the luckiest person alive, had everything, had friends, relationships, used favors, but yeah, I was cycling arguably because I'm competitive, and I was doing 2-a-days to get when Jimmy Johnson helped me start this bike ride. We were riding one day, and he said, you know what, I helped you, you come help me be a part of my triathlon. And I'd always wanted to do it, so I was training for that, and I was on the bike twice a day and swimming, and I didn't want to show up and embarrass myself, and you know, competitive people, right? So I found it what I thought was just, and my doctor thought was just, an internal hemorrhoid, which apparently is common in cycling. And I am the stubborn person that doesn't do doctors. Luckily, mine, you know, I've got a good relationship with mine, and we're texting back and forth, and he convinced me to go see a local GI, and that's when we found it. And back to the lucky as can be, it was 1 millimeter from going through the wall, which would have meant chemo, radiation, everything you could imagine. And instead, I had a group of people from all over the country that I had met through racing, doctors, top oncologists, all jumped on board, and I had surgery immediately and rolled back into a truck at Kansas and ran in the top 5 or 10 right away and within 6 weeks, and never told NASCAR until after the fact, which was not a good thing. But, I was pretty quiet about it at first. And then you realize, man, you are lucky. You see what other people are going through. And so you just hope by talking about it, maybe somebody else gets lucky and catches it like I did when I did.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. And you're feeling good, right?
I can't tell that it happened. It's, to get on the mental side of things, I and the personal side of things, a year comes, and every year I'm on annual colonoscopies,
yeah.
which aren't as bad as they seem to be, or I thought they would be. But I am on them annually, and it's sickening to say that I'm excited for them, because just the mental side, you're good to go again. It's
without a doubt.
There's that lingering, wondering if it's back.
Yeah.
So,
that's
but I'm good, man. I'm pretty fit, feel good, and I cannot complain. 2 beautiful girls, and life's good.
Good for you, man. We're excited for you this weekend. Good luck with the Champions Ride for Bicycle Safety on Thursday. And then on Friday, of course, you'll hop in that car. We'll be pulling for you, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you Friday down there.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, man. Scott Lagasse Jr. joining us. He'll be big in Daytona on the weekend, and we'll have more NASCAR coverage. We will be down at Daytona on Friday afternoon with this show, 3 to 6, and we'll share more of Scott Lagasse's story and his relationship with that little girl. We'll tell you a little bit more about that when we come back on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and another day, another chapter in the Antonio Brown saga. Today, the embattled wide receiver tweeting a goodbye to the Steelers fan base minutes later. Sources began to leak to ESPN 690.
Basically, he's informed the Steelers of their, quote, position. So he wouldn't divulge the details, but, you could probably read between the tea leaves that position probably includes wanting to be elsewhere. But I'm told he has not been released, David, and they can't make a trade until the new league year, so this could still drag on.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler covering the Steelers for us. Brown, not the only wide receiver in the headlines today, as we're now reporting the Texans plan to release Demaryius Thomas. The 4-time Pro Bowler is 31 years old, currently recovering from a torn Achilles. And here's something you don't see every day: Michael Jordan stirring the pot. When asked if he was impressed by Westbrook's triple-double record or Harden's scoring this season, number 23 said he thought it was tougher to win 6 championships. Touche, Mike. Stream us online at ESPN690.com. Hit that listen live button and enjoy.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi, developing story from ESPN's Adam Schefter. Receiver Antonio Brown has officially requested a trade from the Steelers. The news following a tweet from Brown today where he said farewell to the Steelers and their fans, adding that it's time to move forward. Brown has wanted a fresh start for quite some time, notes ESPN Steelers reporter Jeremy Fowler.
Brown has been unhappy. I've talked to several people in and around and close to Brown who say that they feel Brown's sick of being the scapegoat for the Steelers' problems and wants to show he can thrive elsewhere. He's had minimal contact with the team. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, has been handling that contact.
If the Steelers trade Brown before March 17th, they absorb $21 million in dead money on their salary cap, $23 million after that date. The NBA said it's determined Lakers president Magic Johnson did not break any tampering rules when he recently spoke about 76ers point guard Ben Simmons. Celtics will be without all-star guard Kyrie Irving tonight against the 76ers because of an injured knee. 7:30 Eastern, ESPN Radio. NHL, Bruins leading scorer David Pastrnak, injured thumb, will be out at least 2 weeks.
At Pizza Hut, you can carry out any large pizza with any toppings for just $10.99. Even Pizza Hut's pan meat lovers. Use code THANKYOU online or call for carryout today. Hurry, deal ends soon. Ask for offer. Additional charge or extra charge for extra cheese, stuffed crust, and over 5 toppings. Availability, price, and participation vary.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Hey, good to catch up with Scott Lagasse Jr. in the last segment. He's got a lot going on, as you can tell, and pretty good basketball player, too. He loves playing the hoops, but he had to get away from it, I think, like he said, because of getting hurt and banged up and still driving all different kind of races. And it's always good to kind of have a little local flavor down there in Daytona, and he's our local connection from a driver standpoint. But just to kind of follow up, we were up against it trying to get to the top of the hour. But before we do that, don't I have to tee up? It is 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's happy hour horn time. There we go.
Grab a drink, get a shot, tip your star tenders.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I almost forgot about it. But with Lagasse, first of all, I love 500 a week. I'm not a huge NASCAR guy. I'm just not that guy. But I like covering the big event, and this week is kind of cool. We'll be down there Friday. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And then we'll be down there Sunday. We'll be down there really all week on the TV side, CBS 47 and
now,
Fox
Brent,
30.
I have a quick ask. So I'm going to be there Friday, correct?
Yes.
So as far as the dress code, I mean, collared shirt, or are we okay with a little more casual for
Dude,
being
this
Daytona?
is NASCAR.
Yeah, tank top and gym shorts, baby. Here we go.
The best part about NASCAR, we'll do an hour show on Sunday, and I'm in jeans.
Okay.
So that's one of those
I was
kinds.
going to say, jean shorts are probably okay.
Well, I'm not sure if they're ever okay, Coos, but I'll keep that in mind.
But yeah, NASCAR, I wouldn't worry about the collared shirt. I don't think you don't have to. You can if you want.
Nah,
but
it's okay.
I always say this about the 500 week. I will someday get an RV and camp out in that infield and just enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Someday. There and Florida-Georgia game. I will do that for like a couple of days leading up. I just think it would be a lot of fun. Haven't been able to do it because we're usually covering it. But anyway, back to Lagasse. You were hit on a story about the colon cancer, and he did keep it quiet. And that was there was a recent article in Florida Times Union about the story, but that he get connected with a little girl, right? You were mentioning an 8-year-old girl.
Yeah. So Reese King, actually, and I guess they became friends and everything, and he kind of found inspiration in her. And it made the treatments and everything a little more easier for him, because from what I gathered was he didn't tell any. He was kind of modest, but he didn't tell anybody in NASCAR or anything because he didn't. I guess he didn't want to burden anybody with the issue. You know, like he thought that, everyone's got issues to deal with. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody about it. And let's be honest, colon cancer it's a big deal. I mean, any kind of cancer is a big deal. So it kind of tells you who he is as a person, the fact that he didn't want to burden anybody. He just kind of wanted to keep it to himself. But yeah, so then he ended up finding some inspiration in a child. So it was a pretty cool read.
Yeah, good stuff. And once again, if you missed some of our conversation, he was mentioning a local sponsor being on board for his race in the Xfinity series. And also there's room on there for the Tom Coughlin J Fund to have their logo on the car. So that's pretty cool. And again, we'll have more of it later in the week. Let's get back to football. Interesting. We were talking about Kyler Murray and Josh Rosen in that situation with Kingsbury in Arizona. Well, the report out of Arizona within the last half hour is Kingsbury says Josh is our guy. So he endorsed Josh Rosen. So, I mean, that's a little surprising he would endorse. I mean, in a way, do you tip your hand a little bit, or would you give that up? Did they feel the need to say, hey, he's our guy, and don't worry, Josh, don't want all these rumors going around? I mean, did you have to do that if you're Kingsbury?
I think didn't have to do it, but from a player's perspective, I feel like that's the right thing to do because it shows that, A, the team's got faith in you, and B, your coach has your back, which is an important aspect. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a situation where Kingsbury says, hey, Josh is our guy, and then go off and trade him, because that makes Kingsbury look pretty bad, and players are going to be like, why would I want to play for that dude?
Yeah.
So when he says Josh is the guy, I think he really means Josh is the guy. So we can put the tinfoil hats away for this thing, and let's not worry about Josh Rosen anymore.
Well, now you can bring it to maybe the Raiders. Well, that's where I think is interesting, because with John Gruden, I don't think is in love with Derek Carr. I don't get the sense he is. I think people are trying to kind of say that he's not anyway, but some of that might be dollar related because they tried to really empty the books and get some of those big contracts off with Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. And this is a big deal for Derek Carr, too. But he's fascinating because Gruden's a different cat. So he thinks outside the box. Would he pick up Murray? Would they draft him Murray even without doing anything with Derek Carr? Can sit behind Derek Carr for a little bit, or would they try to get rid of Derek Carr? See, you've got to remember, this doesn't happen within days of each other. It's not easy. The league year opens in March, and then there's 6 weeks until the draft. So there's a lot that can happen in that time frame where you can't just say, okay, we're going to trade this guy, then we're going to pick this guy, or we're going to pick this guy, now we'll trade this guy. It doesn't always happen in that order. That's what makes it complex sometimes, even if it sounds good on paper.
My thoughts, when you're talking about Gruden, you're talking about a guy who's always tied to the quarterbacks. You know, whether it was his in-depth analysis on, I think, you know, when he did Monday Night Football, when he had the Gruden quarterback camp, he's always a guy that wants the pulse on the quarterback. You know, that's what he's tied to. So the fact that I think, you know, Derek Carr, who hasn't played the best, isn't really Gruden's quarterback. It's not like Gruden brought Derek Carr to Oakland. Derek Carr was there long before Gruden got there. I think from Gruden's perspective, he wants to bring in his own guy. He wants to bring in a guy that he drafted, that he scouted, that he's done research on, bring him in, and then groom him under, you know, under his coaching and under his style. Now, is Kyler Murray that guy? Hard to say. I'm not really sure what Gruden's looking for, and we can speculate all day, but we don't know what's going through those meetings, you know, getting ready for the draft and whatnot, and even the combine. But I think it's a definite fact that Gruden wants to bring in his own guy, which means Carr would be on his way out.
One thing we didn't talk about yesterday at all when the whole Kyler Murray came out, and it's more me because I've kind of I think this would be a fun pick for the Jags, but I also think in so many ways I've crossed him off from being a smart pick for the Jags. And I wonder if I change my mind on that over the next few weeks. You know, I wonder if the Dan Patrick interview's in the rear view. We don't care about height anymore because look at his arm strength and look at his ability to make big plays and look how fun this is, and we fall in love with that. How much will this narrative change? And really, as a whole, how much do you think the Jags might be considering Kyler Murray at this point? Where is he on the landscape of Haskins and the rest of these quarterbacks that we saw at the Senior Bowl? Where does he fit, and where would he fit potentially in the Jags scouting plans?
From my perspective, I think, especially the situation with their coaching staff right now where they have to win this year, I feel like Haskins is the safe bet. He's by far the best quarterback in this draft. He's only got one really good year of film to go off of, but he's shown improvement every single game. Championship game, Big Ten, man, tore it apart.
The last 3 games, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Exactly. I remember watching it, and this is against Northwestern, so I don't know how much stake we put into it. But he balled out. And yes, there was a few errant throws, but guess what? At the college level, you're going to have that. At the NFL level, you're going to have a couple errant throws. So I'm not really speculating that at all. But when you got a guy like Kyler Murray, and I told you, Brent, I'm kind of off him a little bit because of that interview. I think you have the ultimate boomer bust type of player here. With Haskins and then the Jaguars, you're getting a guy that you're pretty sure could, you know, he's going to be dependable. Definitely a guy you don't want to bring in right away to start, but a guy over a couple years, you can groom him, and he's probably going to be a pretty top talent. He's going to be a legit talent. With Murray, it's the ultimate boomer bust. I can see a guy that can, you know, lead a team to a Super Bowl, or I can see a guy that can be out of the league in 3 or 4 years. You know, you just don't know exactly what you're getting with him, and that's what makes the draft, and that's what makes football so exciting, is that you don't really know, especially at the most important position. But if I had if I had it my way, it's definitely Haskins.
Yeah, what's fascinating about the NFL and about guys like Kyler Murray that come along is when you say boomer bust, and that might be the way. I mean, it's kind of like that with almost any position, but it really gets that with the quarterback position, especially with a guy that might check in at 5'8", but has this skill set that seems to maybe start to fit this day and age in the NFL where things have changed. I don't think they've completely changed. I still think we saw the postseason. Defense matters. Being able to run the ball matters. Those kind of, you can't just play backyard football the whole time in the NFL. That doesn't work. I don't think, to win big. But it is like the worst position to be in when you need a guy, like the Jags need a guy, or potentially if they don't sign a Foles or something. And when you pick in the top 10 and you have a player like Murray and you watch him go by, and then for the next 3 years you hold your breath and hope that he doesn't become the next big thing because you missed on him. And we've seen that many a times here in Jacksonville. And the safe pick isn't always the best pick. That's what makes it such a crapshoot.
True.
I mean, true. Again, I say it all the time. My job doesn't depend on it. So go ahead and pick Kyler Murray. I think it'll be fun as hell. But I don't know if I'd do it if my job relied on it. Well, will Kyler Murray be balling or falling in the fall? Who knows? But we got balling and falling coming up next on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
It's time for some straight talk. Picture this. Your favorite team is playing. You're streaming the game. 10 seconds left. Your team shoots. Oops, your data runs out.
Look, don't let that happen. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get 25 gigs of high-speed data, all on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks.
Join Team Straight Talk and get unlimited talk and text plus 25 gigs of high-speed data for just $45 a month.
Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart.
First 25 gigs at high speed, then 2G. See terms at straighttalk.com. 100 years of hard work can take you far. And no one knows that better than Goodyear. In 1918, we started the Akron Wingfoots basketball team, laced up and took to the court. And we've been outperforming the rest ever since. Goodyear proudly celebrates our 100th anniversary in basketball and our relentless dedication to being unstoppable. Goodyear, more driven.
The Medical Group Management Association of Northeast Florida is proud to join forces with the Duval County Medical Society to host its first annual symposium on April 18th. Aimed at helping physicians and practice managers to smoothly operate their practice day to day, topics include healthcare trends impacting your practice, stress management and communication, and empathy in the workplace. To register, go to nfmgma.com. That's nfmgma.com. All attendees must be employed by a medical group or practice.
I really couldn't play golf. I couldn't even walk very far.
Here's Nancy Anderson to talk about her experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
I chose Southeast Orthopedic Specialist because of the reputation of the different surgeons and the hospital experience, and just overall, I'd heard so many great things. And truly, my life is enriched tenfold because now I can do anything.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690. This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
What you got on the magic whiteboard? Lego Movie 2?
Not too shabby. Solid B.
Solid B.
Yeah. Me and Rowan's went to go see that last Saturday, so overall pretty solid.
Yeah.
Happy with it. Yeah.
What makes it solid? Why not a disaster? Why not a blockbuster?
Have you seen the first one?
No.
Well, then why am I even telling you?
There's a lot of people.
How have you seen the Lego Movie?
Is that the one, Everything is Awesome?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that.
Okay, yeah. So,
I have seen it.
Okay, great. It was awesome. It was a good movie.
You ever see that?
Nah,
Everything is awesome.
Cool. You haven't seen the Lego Movie 1?
None of them. Why would I end up there?
Dude, you just played Fortnite this morning.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't you end up
No.
there?
Apex Legends.
Apex
Let's be
Legends,
real.
Brent. Let's
Apex Legends.
Let's not
Sorry.
get crazy in here. Yeah, so the Lego Movie 2, it was like a lot like the first one, Brent, so you'd probably like it. There's new songs where I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but instead of Everything is Awesome, now it's Everything is Awesome Sometimes.
So we got a new little twist.
Yeah, there might have been some political undertones, but we don't need to get into those right now in the movie. but I'm going to say this.
Does Trump make an appearance?
Trump is not in it, but Ruth, what's her name? The judge. Mayor Ginsburg.
Ginsburg,
yeah, she's in it. So she makes an appearance. And the spoiler alert too, the antagonist in it, like the bad guy, is pretty awesome. That's all I'm going to say.
Really?
Yep.
All right. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So B's pretty good. Are you a movie guy?
Well, I mean, now I have 3-year-olds, so like I'm a movie guy when it comes to kids' movies and whatnot. Thankfully, Spider-Man was cool for both of us, you know. And same
Not
thing
for
with this
everybody,
movie. Same thing with this movie. Yeah, so I'm kind of a movie guy. Not for everybody for sure. Kuz, I don't know. Yeah, he hasn't seen it yet though, so we can't go what he says anymore. But we're getting ready to go see How to Train Your Dragon 3 coming up here. So. Which is, have you seen How to Train Your Dragon?
No, I have not seen that.
Spoiler alert, they don't actually teach you how to train a dragon. So it's kind of pointless in that realm, Brent. Sorry to disappoint you there, but my son is all about How to Train Your Dragon, so we're excited for the 3rd installment.
Yeah, you got 3 installments. I mean, that thing's going well.
Really getting their money's worth.
It's pretty good. Ballin' and Fallin'.
Mm-hmm.
So you would say Lego 2 is ballin'.
Yeah.
Is this the Everything is Awesome song?
Yeah, but it's like from Dance Dance Revolution you're playing it from.
I don't know. They said this is it. I was trying to find it so I could be on the same page, but
keep it going.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
there it is.
Okay.
Yep, when you're part of the team, everything is awesome.
There we go.
There you go, man.
Yeah,
All
baby.
right. Well, speaking of everything being awesome, ballin'. How's that segue? Kyle Busch, you know, this is kind of like the Daytona weekend, so I got to keep it, I have to keep it NASCAR a little bit for all the NASCAR fanatics out there. So ballin', Kyle Busch. In an attempt to make all dads around the world look deadbeat and bad, Kyle Busch actually created a Mario Kart course for his kids and then posted the videos on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. And believe me when I say this is quite the intricate course that he's got going on. I mean, it's equipped with it's got the toadstools, it's got the stars, it's got everything that you could ever ask for in a Mario Kart course. So
that's pretty
props
good.
to Kyle Busch. Yeah,
that's very good.
Is there stuff they could throw at each other?
Yes,
too?
yeah, no, there's stuff you could throw at each other like all around the course and everything. His kids were dressed up as Mario and I think and Princess, so they really went all out with it.
That's actually quite a 180 from like Kyle Busch's reputation.
I was just gonna say,
you know?
yeah.
And it's one of the stories we're doing for our Sunday Daytona pre-race special. It kicks off at noon, by the way, on Fox 30. And it's kind of the villains in the sport. Are there enough of them? But Kyle Busch is probably the one.
He is.
And in that sport, you almost need villain. Probably in every sport, but it feels like on the track you need that villain character a little bit. He plays it well.
Yeah. When it comes to NASCAR, I mean, obviously there's going to probably be some moments where somebody bumps you and you get kind of ticked off. I can never do it, man, because I get mad enough doing JTB every single day in Jacksonville. So, like, as far as, like, getting on a racetrack and someone bumping me, yeah, there's no way. So, yeah, I mean, if he's the villain, people are going to be talking about him, and that's a good thing when it comes to NASCAR. But getting back to this video, though, I plan on not showing my son. I wouldn't show your kids either, Brett, because they're going to see that. Like, why can't we do that? I'm like, yeah.
Nah, play the video game.
Not in that pay grade. Sorry, son.
That's it.
Yeah.
My third for ballin', and I'm putting ballin' as the Major League Baseball owners. I think they're saying, we got all the leverage here in this Bryce Harper, Manny Machado sweepstakes, much like last year they did with a lot of guys signing late. And I tweeted this earlier in the day. I think this has to do, from my view, this has to do a lot with Scott Boras, the mega agent who really had taken over Major League Baseball in representation and was able to control a lot of what happened. It's a lot like college football or even like the coaching version. Jimmy Sexton's like that for the agents, and he's got like every college football coach. And so and really a lot of the NFL coaches, so they knows where people are going and can slide this guy here. It feels like there are moving parts behind the scenes because they have so many guys under their representation. Well, Boras has been like that too. Boras has always been the guy that got the player the greatest deal. They overpaid a ton of money. And the last couple of years, we've seen an end to that. We've seen MLB clubs say, hey, you're not holding us hostage. J.D. Martinez, the Red Sox offered 5 years, $125 for him. They sat on it for like a month or two, and he ended up signing it. That took a while, but he ended up signing it, and it was a huge thing. The other part of these deals, and I think this is where Major League Baseball is being a bit smart on it, and from a marketability standpoint, a jersey sale standpoint, and probably a production standpoint, I'm not saying these guys are not worth some of the dollars they're putting out there, but I think there's two ways to go about it if you're the big clubs. And the Reds, what I said today is you can have 2.5 to 3 J.D. Martinez kind of players at 5 years, $125 for the price you can get Bryce Harper or Manny Machado, 10 years, $350 million. Well, I'd rather find myself a DH, a shortstop, and a pitcher rather than one Manny Machado and one Bryce Harper.
But depending on the team, some teams don't really care about money. I mean, we're talking about a New York Yankees team who has just offered Machado $200 million. You know, like this is...
Well, but the Red Sox are like that, too. There's still a luxury tax involved. You still get penalized at some point. So not care about money, yes, they can be more freewheeling with their money. But I think this is the thing. A lot of these organizations saying, yeah, we can throw the money at you, but I'm not sure we're willing to do it.
Is this good for baseball or bad for baseball, though? Because let's take it from a different sport. I mean, we're talking about Manny Machado. We're talking about Bryce Harper, who are two of the biggest names in all of baseball who haven't signed to a team yet, and we're about a month away from spring training. Like, it'd be like a team not signing a quarterback, and they're a month away from, training camp. Baseball season's kind of right around the corner, and we're talking about the biggest names not having a team yet.
Yeah, pitchers and catchers are about to report. I mean, it's a big deal.
So that's not good for baseball, though. You have to, or is that good for baseball?
Well, I don't know if it's bad for baseball. I think this season is so long, so everybody's not just. If anything, it gives some attention to the sport. So I don't think from a marketing perspective, it's bad for baseball. I don't know where it goes from here. Like, I don't know how much they're going to pay Harper eventually. I don't know what he's holding out for, essentially. But I will say this. I don't believe the teams that sign Harper and Machado are going to win World Series with them. I think they're good, productive players, but I have my reservations about Harper getting to that next elite kind of level and putting up the numbers that people are expected him to put up, and he really hasn't delivered on. He's been very good, but I think they're expecting him to be like Mike Trout and the greatest player in the game, and he hasn't lived up to that. He's still got plenty of time. And Manny Machado, to me, seems like a chemistry problem at times with teams, and I just feel like you might be a talented team with him. He'll produce for you. I just wonder if he helps you win a ring. And I've wondered that out loud. Maybe I'll be wrong. But where this ends up is going to be fascinating to see. Major League Baseball against Boras, against these players. I think the days of there was a thought at one time that Bryce Harper's contract would go for $450 million. Now, at the end of this thing, he might be fortunate to get $300 million.
Yeah.
Or $320. And that's not like he's already turned down 10 years, $300 million. So it'll be fascinating to see where it goes. There are players that also have come out and said, what are you guys doing? You know, this is a guy that you can have him from 26 to 36 years old, and in the prime of his career, you can be a team that's not ready to win but still build around him. And there's a lot of concern right now. Okay, are you tanking? Are you ready to win right now? And because Atlanta's been able to do it, Oakland's done it in the past, the Houston Astros have done it in the past. So teams have been able to tank for a little bit, then get good right away. Well, the players don't like that, because who wants to sign up for a team that's saying, well, we're not ready to win right now?
And that's the point, too, is like teams are building the farm system probably more than ever. You know, I mean, Houston's a great example of that. You know, they've won a World Series, just missed out this past season. Milwaukee Brewers, another team who, and granted, you know, they've gone out after a couple bigger names, but it's teams that have built in the farm system where if you go after one of these big name guys for a trade or whatnot, you got to sacrifice some of those farm guys. So I think, too, you're seeing teams trying to go a lot younger than what teams did way back in the day. We need that veteran leadership and whatnot. It seems to be a young man's game now.
Yeah, and that'll always be the case. I think how much will these guys spend? It's fascinating watch to see where Harper and Machado end up over these next couple of weeks. I'm just saying I don't hate it from my vantage point. And hopefully they'll get a lot of money. I'm all for that, too. I'm all for guys getting their money.
Yeah.
But I don't mind what the MLB owners are at least pausing and wondering, okay, let's just not throw this money at them right now. When we come back, we got the fallen part of Ballin' and Fallen, and also have an update on our poll question. You can still vote on it on Twitter at Brent A.S. Jacks. Which league benefits most from Kyler Murray playing? Major League Baseball or the NFL? Interesting results so far. That's next on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and another day, another chapter in the Antonio Brown saga. Today, the embattled wide receiver tweeting a goodbye to the Steelers fan base minutes later. Sources began to leak to ESPN 690.
Basically, he's informed the Steelers of their, quote, position. So he wouldn't divulge the details, but, you could probably read between the tea leaves that that position probably includes wanting to be elsewhere. But I'm told he has not been released, David, and they can't make a trade until the new league year, so this could still drag on.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler covering the Steelers for us. Brown, not the only wide receiver in the headlines today, as we're now reporting the Texans plan to release Demaryius Thomas. The four-time Pro Bowler is 31 years old, currently recovering from a torn Achilles. And here's something you don't see every day. Michael Jordan stirring the pot. When asked if he was impressed by Westbrook's triple-double record or Harden's scoring this season, number 23 said he thought it was tougher to win 6 championships. Touche, Mike. Stream us online at ESPN690.com. Hit that listen live button and enjoy.
Hey everyone, this is Austin Lane from ESPN 690 and Action Sports Jacks. I'm inviting you, your colleagues and friends to Pints and Pucks with the Jack Sports Council Young Professionals and the Jacksonville Icemen. Wednesday, February 27th, join the Jack Sports Council Young Professionals for a night of great networking and fun. Pints and Pucks starts at 5 at Intuition Ale Works downtown. Then we'll move to the arena for the puck drop at 7. Pints and Pucks is open to everyone, with a portion of the proceeds going to the Send the Child to the Game program. See you at Pints and Pucks.
There are those who play the blues. Then there's Chicago's electric blues legend, the one and only Buddy Guy.
And it goes down.
Saturday, March 23rd at the Florida Theater.
Well, it's 9 below 0.
Tickets are on sale now at the box office and at floridatheater.com. Don't miss Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Buddy Guy.
On February 17th, the stage will be set for racing's greatest day, the Daytona 500. A day that delivers four-wide excitement, legendary moments, and unforgettable finishes. A day that keeps you on the edge of your seat and that you'll remember forever. The greatest race awaits. Experience the thrill of the Daytona 500 in person. Guarantee your seats before they sell out at Daytona500.com.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jacks on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jacks is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
How about the poll question? Which league benefits most from Kyler Murray playing? 38% so far say MLB, 62% says the NFL. That's interesting. And they actually agreed with me. Yesterday I said that too. I think the NFL will benefit more. But I actually thought most people would say MLB because the NFL gets so much attention.
I'm sorry, what were the numbers, exact numbers again?
38% MLB, 62% NFL. A little surprised?
Shocked, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see my face right now. I'm a little shocked.
That's your shocked face.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
That's not your everything is awesome face.
Well, no, yeah, exactly. I disagree with that. We can get into that later.
Get into it now.
Get into it now?
Sure.
Well, and if are we still doing fallen or not?
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, we push segment. Do whatever we want to do.
All right. Well, I was trying to make my point
Stuart
right now.
Weber here too.
Yeah, and Stuart. But,
yes, hello.
You can play along and try to prove my point for me as well here, and all the fans listening in their cars or whatnot can play along as well. Kuz, let's chime in here too. All right?
Fans
I kind of think I already disagree with Austin, which sounds really weird.
Fans of the show?
No.
Fans of you?
No, fans of the show. No, fans listening in. Fans of the show can listen in and play along too.
I just wanted to clarify.
All right, so Brent, you stay out of this question because it's not fair because you're kind of a fan. Stuart, Kuz, who was the quarterback that won the Super Bowl this past year? Pretty obvious. Who was it?
Tom Brady.
Correct.
Well, you guys are good. You're not fired yet.
You guys are
You're making me nervous, man.
All right. So, Kyler Murray plays outfield, right? Did you guys know that or not? Because I didn't until I looked it up.
No, you said second base yesterday.
I know. I
I
said
just
second
kind of
base.
let it slide.
Yeah, he's actually an outfielder. But let me ask you guys this. Of the World Series team that won the championship, name any of their outfielders. There's 4 of them. Can you name me one?
Well, the Red Sox won. And
Correct.
Jackie Bradley's one of their outfielders, right, Brent?
Yes.
Okay.
You're not naming the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Maybe the best
Kuz,
athlete on the planet.
All right. So, Stuart, let's see if
Am I out
Kuz can
now?
name one. Yeah. Kuz, can you name one?
I pay so little attention to baseball. I want to say Mookie, but I don't.
Yeah,
Is he out there? Yeah, okay.
baby. See,
Okay.
I got you.
Don't admit that you pay little attention to baseball.
I went to a game, the Phillies opener, and he hit 3 home runs back to back to back, and that's the last baseball game I've been to.
So, getting to my point.
Did you say there were 4 outfielders? What's this, softball?
Oh, no, there was 4. They went through 4 of them.
Oh, okay.
No. but my point is, and everybody
figured
that
that's
was
what you're
playing
talking
along at home, too, I mean, listen. People had a hard time naming Mookie Betts, and he was the AL MVP he was the best player in baseball last year.
was.
According to the voting.
Oh, no, he was.
Okay, he
According
was.
to me.
Okay, according to you. But how many people can actually name Mookie Betts?
I mean, Justin can.
No, it's fair. I mean, we said this yesterday. People don't talk about Mike Trout. He might be the best player in any sport out there.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not LeBron. And maybe not Tom Brady. But he's in that class. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, he is going to be, historically, when you look at Mike Trout, his numbers are going to sing like theirs. I mean, they are going to look like that. And nobody talks about Mike Trout.
He's not like he's in a small market either. I mean, granted, I'm sure he played for the Dodgers. People would know him a little more. But
yeah, West Coast bias.
Yeah, but you're still in L.A., you know? So,
I mean,
wouldn't that, in a way, be beneficial for Kyler to go there? Because they're already talking about how he's great. So if he goes to baseball, people will be focused on it a little bit more now.
Well, there's a couple of problems with it, though. One is you got to go to the minors first.
Okay,
so you're going to get lost. So all this conversation, it's not like, bam, go to spring training, see you last weekend in March in the opener against the Red Sox. It's not how it works. I mean, you got to go to the minors, most likely, earn your way up. Might take, now if you're fast, in a fast riser, you could maybe get up there later this year, but that's highly unlikely. It'll probably be 2 years at the earliest until Kyler Murray makes it to the big leagues, and by then, you've kind of forgotten about him. So,
but I mean, is 2 years kind of generous though? Because it took Tim Tebow about 2 years to go from single A to get up to triple A.
But he hasn't gotten to the majors yet.
But Tebow wasn't a prospect like this, and Tebow
he
also
climbed that much in a matter of 2 years.
But he took a decade off. I mean, Tebow's not. That's not an apples to apples.
He's also an adult too, and a large part of being a minor league player is growing as a person. You think about Tim when he entered the minor league system, he was already an adult. Whereas most of these kids coming out of high school or college, they need to learn life as they're going through that system.
So then would you call Machado an adult or Yasiel Puig an adult? Because they act childish sometimes.
Point taken, but
it's levels.
Bryce Harper?
There's levels of adulthood.
I guess there's levels, yeah. But so just getting back to my point, I think MLB needs Kyler Murray more than the NFL does.
And listen, that's why it's a good question. 38% say MLB, 62% say NFL. What I do think, and I'll reiterate what I said yesterday, I do think is helpful for MLB. Remember, Oakland will keep his rights. First of all, it would have been better if he didn't get drafted by Oakland. Oakland is one of the forgotten franchises in baseball. Now, if he goes and makes a name for himself, even to a small degree, which he will be to some degree in the NFL, even if he fails, and then goes to baseball, now all eyes will be on it. All eyes will be, and it might still take a couple years, but all eyes will be like, hey, remember Kyler Murray?
Kind of like Tebow.
And we'll show highlights of, remember him running around and winning that game in the fourth quarter and blah, 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 blah. And now we follow him a little bit. And then there's one more step of this responsibility. He has to become a superstar in baseball. Like, he has to deliver. He has to be good.
I will say that the great example there is when you think about Michael Jordan going to play Double-A for the White Sox Double-A affiliate in Birmingham. You had so many extra eyes on a Double-A baseball team in Birmingham because Michael Jordan was there.
Absolutely. But that's like a little bit of a circus act. And that's a little bit, and this is not, I am so impressed with what Tim Tebow's doing and has done for a guy that took it off for a decade. And so this is not a knock on Tim. But nobody expects Tim to be a superstar in Major League Baseball. The idea for Tebow is to just make it. Can you make it there? If you make it there, it's a success. And that was the same deal with Michael Jordan. Can you make it, right? Same thing with Deion. Like, it wasn't like, hey, Deion, can you go be a superstar in baseball? Although he was a very good player, and it looked like he could have been. See, that was the intrigue with Deion. But very few guys, you're saying, hey, can they be a top 10 player? Can they be the best player on the team? Can they make the All-Star game? Can they carry a team to a World Series? That's not what we're talking about in this essence. We are more saying, can they do it? Can they accomplish it? Because it's a very hard thing to do. With Kyler Murray, he has a chance to lead a team as a quarterback, maybe win some football games, do well for a few years, and then could he become a superstar in baseball? That would really elevate him and I think the sport. It just might take a few years for that to manifest.
Could he also, in theory, if teams come and talk to him, say, don't bother drafting me. If you draft me, I'm going to go play baseball?
I think Ian Rappaport may have brought something like that up. He said he could have more leverage than anybody in the sport that's ever been drafted. Kind of, well, not ever. Kind of like Eli Manning, right? Manning played that card. And they said, well, Kyler Murray could do that. Could say, hey, listen, if he talks to, say, take 10 teams in the top 10, and he talks to them and he says, 8 of them, hey, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to go to baseball. You know, I'd like to take batting practice on Tuesdays, and I'd like to, you have a minor league affiliate maybe I could jump over to see? Well, that's going to red flag the heck out of 8 of those teams. But 2 of those teams, he says, I'm all in, man. I'm all in. I don't care about baseball. I don't ever want to play it again. I'm fine. So could he do that? In theory, yes. Rappaport kind of just put that out there, and I understood what he said. I think somebody else, maybe it was Pro Football Talk or someone came back and said, yeah, he wouldn't do it, or he's already said he wants to play baseball. Football. Well, then Rappaport responded on the tweet today and said, well, he also told the A's that he wanted to play baseball. So it's fair. I mean, who knows? Yeah. I don't think they would manipulate the system. You'd like to think they wouldn't like that, but could they?
It was a big debate on Reddit, on Jags Reddit, at least today when I was looking, so that's why I brought it up.
I don't think the way he committed to it yesterday, the way he said, I'm all in, which was kind of laughable in a way, he said, I'm committing my life to football. Yeah. It's like, well, hey, just to let you guys know, I'm committing my life for at least 3 hours to radio. But it's just a weird way to put it. And I think it's a fascinating argument. I just don't think he would. I think he has so much to prove as an undersized guy, as a guy that people already assume might still have an interest in baseball, that I would be shocked if he tries to waver from team to team and say, yeah, I might, yeah, I won't, because I want to go here or there.
Would you be surprised if a team came to him before he made the decision and basically said, hey, first-round pick, we're interested in you? You know, like, do you think that had something to do with his decision where he kind of put the feelers out there a little bit, maybe his agent or maybe himself, maybe his dad, whoever it was, and they figured out, oh, yeah, there's teams that want to take me in the first round for sure. And granted, we've been talking about he's a first-round pick most likely. We don't know how he's going to do at the combine yet. We don't know how the pro days are going to go. So do you think,
the interviews especially.
Exactly, or the interviews. So do you think some teams have already come forward and been like, yeah, we're definitely going to take it. You should probably join football and leave baseball to the side.
Well, it's part of the process is they can get a grade. Where would you land?
But
anyway,
but
I do
But I'm
think,
not talking about a grade from, like, you know, pro scouts, or I'm talking about teams contacting him. Like, I don't want to say a GM, but like somebody on the team just basically being like, hey, listen, we want to take you. You should come play football.
Yeah, I think there are probably enough circles where, from an agent perspective, from maybe Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, from, you know, people were talking to Lincoln Riley about the NFL, weren't they? So I think there's enough behind the scenes chatter to say, hey, yeah, it's illegal, but it's illegal tampering, but nobody's ever going to catch it. Because it's so back-channeled. I think it would be illegal tampering. It sounds like it would be. So, but I think there's enough back-channeling to probably gauge an interest.
All I'm saying is undersized QB. We have an undersized baseball mascot in town. Perhaps the Jumbo Shrimp of NFL quarterbacks could play for the Jumbo Shrimp of Jacksonville.
Yeah. And we were talking about that with the Shrimp guys, right? It's like, what team could he go play for and then play in the A's Like, if he went out west, he could play for a minor league affiliate of the A's that's out there.
Triple A's in Sacramento. Double A's in Midland, yeah.
Is it Midland?
Yeah.
Wasn't there one in Tacoma, or was that just
Sacramento was their Triple A.
Okay. So it'd be fascinating to see it. Kyler Murray, man, I admit this. He's about as intriguing as it gets right now heading into the NFL draft. Hey, when we come back, we will have Fallen. And we also spend more time with Action Sports Jack Stuart Weber, plus a critique. Oh, yeah, a critique of Austin Lane.
Uh-oh.
It's coming up next.
Built with the biggest names in sports, all on one radio station. Golick and Wingo, Dan Lebitard, Stephen A. Smith, and Action Sports Jack's Brent Martineau every afternoon. Plus, Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And major breaking news in sports when it happens. Make us your only button for sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. The all-new ESPN 690.
When you get hurt, you feel like everything is put on hold. And
here's Hunter Scantling to talk about his experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
when it comes to injuries like that, you gotta make sure you get the best advice, the best surgeon. And luckily, I was recommended to go to Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, and the office was awesome, very nice. Everybody there made me feel at home. Everybody's been spot on.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from ESPN 690 and Action Sports Jacks, and we know who the football team of the year is. Yep, the Patriots again. What you may not know is my friends at the brand new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville have the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year. They raise that trophy. It's the new 2019 Hyundai Kona, and this is a super slick crossover utility vehicle. I encourage you to swing by the Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville showroom on Atlantic Boulevard and take a look at this new crossover utility vehicle. The Kona is offered in 4 trim levels: the SE, the SEL, the Limited, and the Ultimate. Go see my friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville and schedule a test drive and order the new Konas today. And remember, Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the 7-day money-back guarantee and offers the limited lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Visit the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690. Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
All right, time for a quick Fallen here. We left off. Ballin was like a long time ago. Fallen is back.
All right.
You got it?
I got it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Did you find it?
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything written down, but we're just going to,
Oh, just wing it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you write this down sometimes?
Fallen. Yeah, sometimes I do.
Right.
It's good to have notes.
Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Action Sports Jack, Stuart Weber with us, too. And Coos, what you got?
Fallen. The NBA official referee account on Twitter.
Okay.
Bradley Beal
Didn't
last
know I
night.
followed him.
Yep. So Bradley Beal last night played in Detroit, played the Detroit Pistons. When I say he traveled, that is the biggest understatement of all time. He took about maybe a baker's dozen, maybe 14 steps. And of course, being the NBA and trying to do their due diligence and be out speaking to fans and whatnot, came up with the call here on Twitter, and I quote: "The offensive player gathers his right foot on the ground. He then takes 2 legal steps before losing control of the ball. After regaining possession, a player is allowed to regain his pivot foot and pass or shoot prior to the foot returning to the ground. This is legal." It was so ridiculous that Bradley Beal even went on Twitter and had like the crying face emojis from laughter because he knew it was so ridiculous. He basically, in Detroit, he went from Flint and traveled all the way to the Piston Stadium in that travel because it was literally 25 steps. Ridiculous. NBA, I get it, you're trying to cover for yourselves, but sometimes you just got to say to yourselves, we made a mistake, we messed up, it's not the playoffs, it's not the end of the world.
They just don't call it.
No, but then don't go back on it and try to explain it like it was the right call.
Ty Guy, he loves watching NBA, but he hates the travel stuff. Like, he gets so mad. He's like, oh, that was 6 steps.
Yeah.
And they just don't do it.
I can't watch it till the playoffs. I'll be honest with you. Sorry, Kuz. I cannot watch the NBA till it's the playoffs. It's a different game.
Kuz, how much do you travel on the Drive and Dish podcast?
Oh, very little travel, actually. At least according to the NBA Twitter page now. We don't travel at all.
Not at all. Well, my balling, or I already gave balling, my fallen, hate to say it, but it's Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
The defensive tackle out of Mississippi State, the ACL. He tears it. Top 10, top 15 pick. A lot of projections actually to the Jags in some of these mock drafts, which, was kind of a head scratcher at times, but still, that's kind of talent this guy is. And now what happens? Where does he go? I mean, where do you pick a guy that tears his ACL in February, getting ready for the combine and all these workouts, 2.5 months away from the draft, knowing that he won't be back really? I don't even think you could count on him in his first year. It's like a redshirt year. It's a Dante Fowler Jr. kind of year.
Aaron Colvin.
Yeah. How much does he drop? I mean, how far is he going to fall?
I mean, there's no way he's going to be a first-round pick anymore. I have a hard time believing that because a first-round pick, usually you bring into play right away. Or if it's a quarterback, you sit him. So, I could see maybe a late to second, maybe early third-round pick. And if we're talking with that, we're talking millions and millions of dollars that were lost. And Brent, we kind of talked about it a little bit. I don't know what he was doing for this combine training, but usually it's not that physical, So I don't know.
Yeah, but ACLs, man, you can be walking down the street.
I understand, but it's just it sucks to see it. And and granted, he had some problems about him. He had some red flags, and we talked about that before too.
Yeah, prior to college.
But just as a football player,
it seemed like that part they'd been okay with. He's kind of rehabilitated himself. He's proven himself, and they were going to still make him a top 10 pick.
They had him going to the Jaguars number 7. So yeah, obviously he's done his due diligence there. It's something that you hate to see. It's part of the game, obviously. I mean, the thing with ACLs these days, though, I mean, you can come back, in I don't want to say a few months, but the technology of recovery has come a long ways even since I played. So hopefully he gets everything that he needs and he can come back in about a year or so. But it sucks, man.
Colvin played in that first season, right? After he tore his in the Senior Bowl practices?
Bowl, which would have been in January, and I'm pretty sure he played the latter part of the year.
The last 6 games, I think.
Was it the last 6 games?
Something like that.
That makes I could see that. That would have been what? So you're talking mid-November. So that's pretty quick.
Yeah, he came back pretty quick.
You sure he played that?
I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like that's probably a comp when you're talking about how much he's going to be falling in the draft. You look at Colvin, who was, projected to be a first-round pick.
Late first round, early second-round guy, picked 4th round.
And then he fell all the way to 4th.
Yeah, and that was a good move by the Jags, good value by the Jags. It's going to be a value pick for a lot of people, potentially. What's really interesting in this situation, if you're the Patriots, just won the Super Bowl. If you're the Rams, just went to the Super Bowl, and you're going to lose some of those defensive players, the Rams are probably, because some of the dollars there. If you're the Chiefs, if you're one of those last 4 or 5 teams, where do you say, oh, wait a minute, we can get a top 10 pick back here at number 29, back here at number 31? We could get a top 10 pick. Everybody knows he's a top 10 talent, and we just can't have him for a few months? Wow, where do you weigh that versus a guy that you might pick back there? And I'll give you an example. Taven Bryan, he was picked at 27? Yeah, 27 or 29? 29. So he was picked at 29.
Luxury.
And really didn't do much. Now, he played more in the back half and in the last month. I mean, basically,
he had one sack,
you might be able to. We'll see how the recovery goes, and this a little later. But there's, at least in theory, you could get out of Simmons what you got out of Taven Bryan, even though the guy got hurt, but this guy's like a top 10 talent.
Yeah.
Well, look at even with Miles Jack. Teams were kind of off put by his potential to have surgery for a repair in a couple years. So teams, shied away from him. Jags got him second round, you know? So injuries are definitely a big thing, and teams do shy away from that. But if you can swing it, and if you have the ability to rest this guy for a whole year, and you don't need a defensive tackle right away, then by all means. But first round pick's always sketchy.
Yeah, it is.
Because usually that first-round pick is a guy you're going to bring in right away and try to contribute.
Somebody's going to take a gamble on this guy higher up. I don't think he's going to slip into like the third round because of it. Like you brought up, Colvin slipped 2 rounds. I don't think this guy's slipping 2 rounds. I'd be surprised to see that. Colvin, the difference was late first round, early second. That's a top 45, top 50 player. This guy's a top 10 talent. And the reason why he might not have been picked in the top 10 is because people would take quarterbacks and leap ahead. Colvin, you were right, played 6?
Yeah, 6 games in
that
first year.
But that was a quick recovery.
It was. I remember
now, he didn't do much in the 6 games, if I remember correctly.
Started one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't a factor, but he was just trying to find himself. Keep in mind, with ACLs, you can go anywhere from 9 to 12 months, but we've seen it. We saw it with Senderick Marks here. We just talked to Allen Robinson at the Super Bowl. He said the same thing. The first half of the year playing, even if it's the start of the year, is very difficult. You're trying to find yourself.
That's why you almost want him to play that last month of the season and have it be a throwaway.
Yeah, good point. Hey, we got some high school coaching news today, too, and a little Johnny Wolford news, and somehow there's a deep connection.
There is. I can make it a ballin' and fallin' of sorts.
You can do it.
Join us. Yeah, come on.
Ballin'.
Water's fine in here.
Coach Krause. Tim Krause moving up from Nice is where he's been the past few years. Got there in 2015. And he's going back to the place he was the previous 8 seasons, which is Bishop Kenny. Coach Bobby Rollerson over at BK, stepping down from the head coach position, going to go pursue some other things, not necessarily high school football coaching. And Coach Rollerson, one of the better guys in our area for those who follow the sport and really know him. Great guy. And so Tim Krause was the offensive coordinator there for many, many years under Mark Thorson. He's going back to Bishop Kenny, and he's going to take over the reins. And Coach Krause actually got to go to the Super Bowl this past year because of the good work he's done off the field with that program at Nice. The Jacksonville Jaguars giving him that honor and that trip to the Super Bowl. So he's balling. Fallen will be Wall Street because they're going to have to wait on Johnny Wolford. Johnny Wolford, the former Bishop Kenny quarterback under Coach Krause when he was the offensive coordinator there, has decided to put his Wall Street career on hold because he's pursuing that football career as the starting quarterback of the Arizona Hotshots in the Alliance of American Football.
And doing well.
Doing well, named the Offensive Player of the Week after a 4-touchdown performance, no interceptions, 275 yards passing. We know he can throw it. We know he can run it. He ran for 2 two-point conversions as well. Johnny Wolford making Wall Street fall.
Yeah, that's
on this day.
By the way, you brought up Wall Street. It's balling. 370 up 372 is the Dow Jones. So there you go.
Nice.
Since you brought it up, but Johnny Wolford's interesting. He's this perfect test for this league. He had a great first weekend. He was in camp with the Jets. He was a guy just didn't really want to let go of. They kind of liked what they saw. He's an undersized guy, 6'1", 199. We've seen him in high school. We saw him in college. He's an overachiever.
That's why we still call him Johnny, by the way.
Yeah.
Every press release always says John on it now. But for us, he will always be Johnny Wolford.
He's our Johnny football, right?
Fair enough.
But good for him. Good for Wolford. And I think he's a great test study of this league, though, from a quarterback perspective. If he has a good year, good couple of months, does he end up in another camp? And I think the answer to that would be yes.
And he's a guy who it was a numbers game. That's why he didn't end up on a practice squad on a 90-man. It's just a numbers game. And he's one of those guys who can benefit from extra reps, extra snaps, extra game time. And like you said, he could be the poster boy of the AAF as a guy who gets that chance to develop in this extra league and then maybe find his way onto a practice squad and work his way up.
All right, don't go anywhere, Stuart, because we got to do a little critique. We got like 2 minutes to do it. So Austin does his first promo the other day.
Please be kind.
Right? So I say ballin' or fallin' on the promo. Take a listen.
Hey everyone, this is Austin Lane from ESPN 690 and Action Sports Jacks. I'm inviting you, your colleagues and friends to Pints and Pucks with the Jack Sports Council Young Professionals and the Jacksonville Icemen. Wednesday, February 27th, join the Jack Sports Council Young Professionals for a night of great networking and fun. Pints and Pucks starts at 5 at Intuition Ale Works downtown. Then we'll move to the arena for the puck drop at 7. Pints and Pucks is open to everyone, with a portion of the proceeds going to the Send the Child to the Game program. See you at Pints and Pucks.
Yeah, how about the inflection there at the end?
See you.
Nailed it.
I'm talking to you, person driving in your car right now.
By the way, you're welcome. Jacksonville Iceman just got another run on that.
Extra run on that.
Yeah.
I will say ballin' because he expertly navigated the word pucks.
Right?
That can be a challenge now.
That can be a challenge. But hey, I'll be honest with you here. He did that the other day. I was here for it. and did a couple of takes of it. But even the first take would have been good.
Yeah.
But didn't clean it up a little bit. And I thought he hit a home run with it, man. That was his first. That was really
I love
good.
the reaction of you right now as you had to hear your own voice. That's something us in the business have had to do forever when you get used to it.
And I would be remiss to say, I know we don't get along that much, but Kuz did some editing there.
No,
maybe sound extra crisp a little bit. So, Kuz, I appreciate it, man.
I gave you the radio announcer voice sound effect.
He threw the music in.
Yeah, exactly. He did the music in. That was about it.
More to come on ESPN 690 after this.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and another day, another chapter in the Antonio Brown saga. Today, the embattled wide receiver tweeting a goodbye to the Steelers fan base minutes later. Sources began to leak to ESPN 690.
Basically, he's informed the Steelers of their, quote, position. So he wouldn't divulge the details, but, you could probably read between the tea leaves that that position probably includes wanting to be elsewhere. But I'm told he has not been released, David, and they can't make a trade until the new league year, so this could still drag on.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler covering the Steelers for us. Brown, not the only wide receiver in the headlines today, as we're now reporting the Texans plan to release Demaryius Thomas. The four-time Pro Bowler is 31 years old, currently recovering from a torn Achilles. And here's something you don't see every day. Michael Jordan stirring the pot. When asked if he was impressed by Westbrook's triple-double record or Harden's scoring this season, number 23 said he thought it was tougher to win 6 championships. Touche, Mike. Stream us online at ESPN690.com. Hit that listen live button and enjoy.
Do you know a child that is deaf or blind? The Florida School for the Deaf and Blind in St. Augustine offers a tuition-free educational program to prepare the child for a lifetime of success. FSDB offers free comprehensive education, transportation, and boarding services at no cost to all eligible deaf or blind students elementary through high school, no matter where you live in Florida. Call 800-344-3737 or log on to www.fsdb.k12.fl.us to find out more.
Lewis Black, the Jokes on Us tour. That's what differentiates me from other comics. That I am crazier than what I see. Ball game's over. Lewis Black, live, Friday, February 15th, 8 p.m., Florida Theater. Tickets are on sale now at the box office or at floridatheater.com.
It's time for some straight talk. Picture this. Your favorite team is playing. You're streaming the game. 10 seconds left. Your team shoots. Oops, your data runs out.
Look, don't let that happen. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get 25 gigs of high-speed data, all on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks.
Join Team Straight Talk and get unlimited talk and text plus 25 gigs of high-speed data for just $45 a month.
Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart.
First 25 gigs at high speed, then 2G. See terms at straighttalk.com. 100 years of hard work can take you far, and no one knows that better than Goodyear. In 1918, we started the Akron Wingfoots basketball team, laced up and took to the court. And we've been outperforming the rest ever since. Goodyear proudly celebrates our 100th anniversary in basketball and our relentless dedication to being unstoppable. Goodyear, more driven.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. This is what you need to know. Antonio Brown is ready to say goodbye to Pittsburgh. A source told ESPN's Adam Schefter the star receiver officially has requested a trade from the Steelers. That news coming not long after a tweet today from Brown where he thanked Steeler Nation for a big 9 years and said it's time to move forward. Brown, though, should be careful what he wishes for, cautions ESPN's Darren Woodson.
He's in the perfect spot right now with Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback. And let's go back. Has Antonio Brown caught a touchdown pass from a different quarterback not named Roethlisberger? Has he ever? Never. No, never has he? Now it's up to the Pittsburgh Steelers to fire back and say, okay, this is the situation. This is what we're going to do. Antonio Brown's not going to dictate where he goes.
If the Steelers trade Brown before March 17th, they absorb $21 million in dead money on their salary cap. After that date, it's $23 million. The NBA released a statement, said it concluded Lakers president Magic Johnson's recent comments about 76ers point guard Ben Simmons were not a tampering violation. Celtics guard Kyrie Irving with that injured knee out tonight against the 76ers, 7:30 Eastern, ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
At Pizza Hut, you can carry out any large pizza with any toppings for just $10.99. Even Pizza Hut's pan meat lovers. Use code THANKYOU online or call for carryout today. Hurry, deal ends soon. Ask for offer. Additional charge or extra charge for extra cheese, stuffed crust, and over 5 toppings. Availability, price, and participation vary.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Rave reviews on the promo.
Oh, really?
Nice work.
Huh. From you guys or like on Twitter?
Just from us.
Okay. Well, at least someone's into
it. It might be a new poll question. I might have to grab that and then have people grade them.
Yeah, that works. I'm about it.
You're just asking for haters to come out and get all over me.
Well, I mean, listen, your life is out in the public.
It
NFL,
is.
MMA, radio, now promo icon.
I guess this is the life I've chosen, Brent.
This is the life you lead.
Yes.
The life we lead is to reset things during here at 5 o'clock and what's happening here on a Tuesday in the sports world. And it's really all about Antonio Brown for the most part. Antonio Brown, according to Adam Schefter, requesting a trade for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What now takes place? Who will hold who hostage, if you will? I feel like we use that term quite a bit these days around sports when it comes to free agency trading and players trying to get what they want. I started off the show pretty adamant about I'm okay if the Jags want to make a run.
First of all, pretty adamant's an understatement, Brent.
Yeah.
You were literally on top of the table. Yeah.
And I'd like to see it happen. And I don't believe it will cost as much as some people think it will cost. We obviously don't know that, but I think if you look at next year, 2019, and then if you look at the rest of his deal, $12 million, $11 million, in that range, that's not a lot of money to pay one of the best playmakers in the game right now. How much do you think he has left? Fair question. How much of a problem is he? Fair question. I just think at some point you have to roll the dice on these guys for production over some of those potential negative pitfalls. And this team right now has very few playmakers on the offensive side. So we can talk quarterback all we want, but I'll be much more in tune to listening to your quarterback conversations and who you want to sell me on as a quarterback if you go get me a playmaker like Antonio Brown first. I think this is something the Jaguars should highly consider, and they would have more knowledge and information than we would. But from the outside looking in, I wish they would do it.
And what's happened in Pittsburgh and what's transpired this past season with all the drama and whatnot, and Antonio Brown being a big part of it, it leads me to believe that he's looking for a Super Bowl contender. You kind of mentioned money before. I don't think money is the biggest issue here. I think it's Super Bowl contention. And that's not to say, listen, Pittsburgh, despite all the drama, despite everything that's happened, they're still a pretty solid team. I think with the emergence of James Conner, he's got a solid, you got a solid spot at running back. The offensive line's always been pretty dependable. Big Ben is kind of on the back nine of his career, but he still has maybe 3 or 4 more good years left. But you just get the feeling that Antonio feels like they're not going to win a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh. So, and it's like you said before, too. He's not going to have a choice where he goes to play football. If the Steelers could have it their way, they're going to send him to Buffalo. They're going to send him someplace where he can make a name for himself, but he's never going to have success. But if it's Antonio Brown we're talking about here, he has it his way, he wants to go to a Super Bowl contender. We mentioned a lot San Francisco being a possibility. Jimmy Garoppolo. San Francisco's poised to make a run here in the next couple years, assuming that everybody can stay healthy. But they have all the pieces in place. Now, if they get Antonio Brown there, I think you're talking Super Bowl. When you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's so hard to say this because, listen, 2 years ago or 2 seasons ago, we were in New England getting ready to maybe go to a Super Bowl. And now, this past season, just didn't present itself the way it wanted to. So if you're Antonio Brown, you're looking at, and like I said, he's not going to have the choice. But if you see the Jacksonville Jaguars want to make a play for you, you almost probably got to shake your head a little bit because you know that they need a quarterback. They need more offensive weapons. Antonio Brown can't do it himself. Their defense is solid, yeah, and that's going to be a selling point. But there's way too many question marks right now with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think Antonio Brown loves the idea of being great. And I do think, first of all, yes, on the surface he would say, Jacksonville. Yeah, right. I'm not going to Jacksonville. What are you guys kidding? I'll sit out the whole year before I go to Jacksonville. Yeah, I think he would say that. I think he's that kind of guy. But I think if he looked at it a little bit more, he'd say, wait a minute, I get to go against Ramsey every day in practice? I think he likes that. I don't think that's something he would shy away from. I think he likes the idea of that. This is a guy, if you ever seen some of the workout stuff he's done in the offseason, I mean, he's insane.
Yeah.
And you know, when he's got the chip, he's the big chip on the shoulder guy, you know, overlooked guy. And then I don't know how you'd feel. See, I think he would have a lot of respect for a guy like Fournette. I think as a player, I think he would have respect for a guy like Dede and Marquise Lee as a player. I think if you put him in the Blake Bortles situation, I think that might be problematic, but that's not going to happen. And so I think it would depend on, okay, what are you going to do at the quarterback spot? And we might not have our answer by the time he needs his answer. But I don't know if it's as laughable as I just made it seem. I think on the surface it's laughable because I agree with you. He wants to go. All these guys want to go to big market, you know, Super Bowl winning team. But let's remember, we're talking about how mad he would be at what situation because he doesn't have a choice. So that's the end game. He doesn't get the choice to decide where he wants to go to. He won't have that luxury to be able to say, nah, guys, don't trade me there. Trade me over here instead.
Exactly. But then in saying that, too, where he doesn't have the choice, so say he does come to Jacksonville and it wasn't his choice, probably had other teams in mind, and he comes to Jacksonville, are we really going to get 100% Antonio Brown? Because history has shown us this past couple of years that there is some drama involved with him and whatnot. So if we bring him here and he's like, I didn't want to go to Jacksonville, you're going to be hard-pressed to actually find maybe 100% Antonio Brown that's all in on what the Jags are trying to do.
It's a risk you take, but I think it's a risk that sometimes you have to take. And that was my point of that conversation was, yes, I think he would probably feel that way. I think he'd be like, are you kidding me? They sent me there. I'm not going. I don't want to be in Jacksonville. But then when he got here, would he have those thoughts that I just mentioned? Hey, I got respect for Fournette. I got respect for this guy. I got respect for whatever quarterback. This young quarterback, Haskins, I liked him at Ohio State. Players buy into that stuff, man. Players buy into the narrative at times. I mean, I think Ramsey's a great example of it. I mean, Ramsey just tweeted about it today. He buys in. They watch. They like this stuff, and they like to be vocal about it. So I think at the surface, it wouldn't be well received on Antonio Brown's side, but I do think he could get acclimated more quickly than people think. And I just think, even if it's not like, hey, that's my first destination, that's where I'd love to go, I don't think it automatically means I'm going to shut down, be this diva that I kind of am, and just not be a good guy the rest of the time and even try hard. I don't think it's to that extreme is my point.
But you're talking about you get the respect because with Ramsey and Fournette and the guys that came in here. Well, where's the respect for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because number one, he's played with a quarterback because only one quarterback has thrown touchdowns his entire life to Antonio Brown. And then that's Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah. So where's the respect for Ben Roethlisberger? Because we saw it, during the start of the season, Brown had a few things to say about Ben Roethlisberger. So there's no respect there. Where's the respect for James Conner? Where's the respect for Smith-Schuster? Where's the respect for Tomlin? Because from what I gather, I feel like Tomlin's kind of a player's coach.
Yeah.
So where's the respect for all those guys?
He's a player's coach, though, that has sided with Ben Roethlisberger a lot. Ben Roethlisberger's a guy that goes on radio up there in Pittsburgh and rips guys. And Ben Roethlisberger gets away with a lot. Why? Because he's the franchise QB, and he's the more important figure in that franchise. It's just fact. And Ben Roethlisberger has won a couple of these little battles internally because he's Big Ben Roethlisberger. See, I think that's where this situation would be better. You just rattled off 5 or 6 guys that he has to fight for his ego to compete with. Well, here he doesn't have to. He is the man. He would be the man. Yeah. He would be the guy on offense. He'd be bigger than the quarterback on offense. He'd be bigger than Fournette on offense. He would get all the love that everybody's talking about. And so I think that's important to some of these guys. I think whether it's consciously or subconsciously, I think it's important to some of these guys. The problem with Pittsburgh is they have had to share that with everybody. They have had Le'Veon Bell. They have had Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown. Who am I missing? Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, what's his name that they traded out west? The receiver, the other one.
The other one,
Bryant, Martavis.
Martavis Bryant.
Martavis Bryant.
Well, he had his own, but he had issues though too. But
I get
it.
But there's so many egos, and I mean, heck, even to a degree, some of the Pouncey. I mean, they come with a little bit of swag, So I think they have had to deal with that for years in Pittsburgh, and that gets tiring. Mm-hmm. Look at New England. Do they have to deal with that? No.
Nothing.
Because they've got one guy in that locker room. One guy above it all, and everybody knows it, and nobody else is even on the same level. If you look at some of these franchises that have problems with that stuff, I think it's because you have too many of them. What was the problem here this year? You know why? Because I think too many of these young guys thought they were that guy. Mm-hmm. I think that was part of the problem. I don't think you can have 6, 7, 8 guys like Jalen Ramsey. I think you can have 1 or 2 of them. And then I think you can have a different level guy like maybe a Fournette or a Telvin that's confident and has some swag, but maybe not that outspoken like a Jalen Ramsey. So there's got to be a balance in a locker room, and I think if you have too much of it, and I think that's what happened in Pittsburgh. There was too much of everybody fighting for a microphone, an endorsement, the spotlight, time on NFL Network and ESPN, and it just became too much, and they couldn't handle it. I thought they did a fantastic job of handling it and being as successful as they were over these years, but it was just too much. The last point is receivers, I will admit this, receivers don't usually carry you to Super Bowl titles.
And as far as what Antonio Brown's thinking, man, I mean, I saw him at the Super Bowl week, and he had a blonde mustache and a black goatee. So as far as what he's thinking, man, who knows?
I'll take two of those guys. I'll take Jalen on my defensive side of the ball, and I'll take Antonio Brown on the offensive side of the ball, and bring on some of the drama. But bring on the wins, too, baby.
Yep.
Just win, baby. Hey, when we come back, stay in your lane. And the other big stories of the day, next on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks here on ESPN 690. And although the focus has shifted a little bit from football and heading into basketball season, maybe even baseball season, we have not lost our focus on helping you get the best car buying experience. If you haven't been to see my friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, you've got to see this new state-of-the-art showroom and meet their fantastic people. Beyond that, if you're thinking about buying a new or pre-owned car, you really should go see the team at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. I'm really confident you'll find their approach to be a breath of fresh air. Take it from me. I drive a Hyundai, and my friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville emphasize a no-risk and no-pressure approach. They offer a limited lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States, and if you're not 100% satisfied with your vehicle for any reason, you can bring it back within the first 7 days for your money back. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is located on Atlantic Boulevard. You can schedule a test drive today at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
On February 17th, the stage will be set for racing's greatest day, the Daytona 500. A day that delivers four-wide excitement, legendary moments, and unforgettable finishes. A day that keeps you on the edge of your seat and that you'll remember forever. The greatest race awaits. Experience the thrill of the Daytona 500 in person. Guarantee your seats before they sell out at Daytona500.com.
David Lane talks about his experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
I've been active my whole life. I grew up here in Jacksonville, played a lot of athletic sports. Over time, my body kind of broke down and I wasn't able to perform some of the activities that I used to. I've had 4 different surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic. I think the staff at Southeast Orthopedic is second to none. The doctors are great. The therapy is second to none. It's been a great experience.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks at ESPN 690. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year, the 2019 Hyundai Kona. This new crossover utility vehicle is a perfect fit for a family who doesn't need as much room as the Hyundai Santa Fe, but more room than the Hyundai Elantra. Their customer service is top-notch at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, and you never have to worry about a high-pressure, haggling sales approach to you buying a car. My friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville offer the no-risk, no-pressure approach. If you don't absolutely love your new Hyundai, you can bring it back within the first 7 days for your money back. They also offer a lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Schedule a test drive today at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com or just swing by the showroom on Atlantic Boulevard. I'm confident your experience at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will be just as good as mine has been. Tell them Brent Martineau sent you and drop me a line on social media. Let me know how your experience was at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville.
This weekend is All-Star Weekend.
Big man, right down the middle, the Red Sea parts, and he jams it home.
All-Star Weekend on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Presented by Boost Mobile.
This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
On ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
You came up with the answer. Charlotte? That's where the NBA All-Star Game is?
Yeah.
Really? That's fun.
I'll be honest, though, Charlotte's a pretty cool little city.
It was supposed to be in Charlotte. Was it last year? Whenever it was in New Orleans, most recent, it was supposed to be in Charlotte.
Because the whole transgender thing, right?
Yeah, the bathroom situation made them move.
Right.
So this is like, I guess, a makeup in a way.
Gotcha.
So it was supposed to happen earlier, but it's this year.
That makes sense. Hey, Dennis Wolfeck says, one big problem, need someone to throw in the ball when it comes to Antonio Brown. I'll take care of that later. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, guys. I'll take care of that.
The way he catches, anybody could be throwing him the ball.
You'd be surprised, I think. I mean, yeah, he's one of the best receivers, but if you don't have the legit guy throwing him to him, man, doesn't matter how good of a receiver you are. Let's look at Larry Fitzgerald, man. He's been good for so long, but hasn't had exactly the top brass thrown to him either.
Yeah, but one of those things is he hasn't, but he's still been super productive because he's great. Like DeAndre Hopkins has had some of the worst quarterbacks before Deshaun Watson, but he's still got the ball a ton and put up big numbers. Why? Because he's great. I think it's actually worse on the other end. And I might be wrong, but I don't believe it. I think it's worse when you have a QB with nobody to throw to. I think it's a lot harder on that QB to be successful than it is for the receiver if you're an excellent top-class wide receiver. I think you'll get your catches, and you'll get your balls, and you'll get your touchdowns, even if it's an average quarterback.
Am I supposed to feel bad for Tom Brady then, or what?
Listen, don't ever bring up Tom Brady and the Patriots. I've told you this before. This is not something you do. We can't bring up – there's not a measuring stick.
Yeah.
If we will search until I'm 90 if we're trying to find Tom Brady.
Yeah.
We can't – listen, that should be the hope. I understand. Don't get me wrong, Jags fans. That should be the hope. But the reality is, if you are trying to find Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, good luck. You might be waiting for generations and generations if that's what you're banking on. And I don't think this organization has banked enough on giving an above average or even average QB enough weapons to succeed, even if they're not elite at that QB position. That's the problem with this organization on offense at times. They have to fix that part. Mm-hmm. And one player makes a huge difference in making everybody else better. Again, I understand the baggage. I understand there's some complexities to it. Antonio Brown might be available, and he's an incredible football player.
You saw what Allen Robinson did.
Yeah,
for this whole team.
And he's not even on that level.
With all due respect, yeah, Antonio Brown's a lot better receiver right now than Allen Robinson is.
Absolutely. And by the way, Justin Blackmon might have been on his way there. Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting ready to prove your point here a little more, which I'm not a fan of at all. But you look at what Allen Robinson did for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I get it. They let him go. There's the injury concern. So be it. Whatever. But you look at what he did for Allen Hurns, too. Because Allen Robinson was a problem, and teams had a game plan for him. What happened to Allen Hurns? Allen Hurns became a household name, too, for a little bit.
Yep.
We see him go to Dallas now. Unfortunately, just didn't really find his way in Dallas. He had an injury, but the whole season, no one was talking about Allen Hurns at all in Dallas.
Yeah, when you have one player, he helps. That domino effect is so big. You know it. You know, on a defensive front, if you have Calais Campbell, he helps out Yannick Ngakoue. If you have Yannick Ngakoue, he helps out Calais Campbell. That front seven that's really good for the Jags helps Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey probably gets defensive and some sacks sometimes because of the way he covers. That's the way it works. And what we've asked quarterbacks to do in Jacksonville, and this is not to give them excuses and say they're really better than everybody thinks they were or are. But we really don't know fully because we have asked quarterbacks to play so high above the X's and O's and above the talent that's on the offensive side that it's almost unfair to them. They don't have that. That's not what you brought them in to be. Yet we didn't put enough in Jacksonville around these guys, in my estimation, and we really haven't. Yeah, we've tried from time to time. They've tried from time to time. It just hasn't worked. And so you have to keep trying and keep trying. Like, I'm trying to think of, when's the last time you felt like you had, in Jacksonville, two dynamic players on offense? Give me two. Like Fournette 2 years ago was a dynamic player, but they lost Allen Robinson. So they didn't really have the pass catcher. I mean, Mercedes Lewis had a nice year. They ran the ball so effectively. You know, Marquise Lee played nice, but they weren't dynamic.
It's got to be Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns. I mean, and
yeah, when Blake threw for 38 touchdowns, or 35 touchdowns, I think it was.
That's what it is to me.
You had that trio, although Marquise Lee was banged up more often than not that year. If I'm not mistaken. So it was Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns where you had, I think you're right. I think both guys were double-digit touchdowns. I'm pretty sure both guys were double-digit touchdowns. I think Allen Robinson had 14 and Hurns had 10, if I'm not mistaken. Don't have it in front of me. But that might be right. But even then, so who was the running back that year? What? Do you remember?
Wasn't Toby Gerhart, was it?
It might have been.
That
might have been Gerhard on
how's
the
that for
four
a
downs.
name drop?
That might have been. What's that? We'll have to look up that team. That was like the 2015 team.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look that one up. But you get my point. We have to dig deep. And then you go to a team like Pittsburgh and look at all the weapons. I mean, look how easy they've made Ben Roethlisberger his job. That's not a knock against Roethlisberger, but look how easy they made his job. I think actually it's hard sometimes because you have to share it with so many weapons, but you get my point. Look what the Rams did to Goff. They made it easy. You got Gurley. You have Cooks. You have all these guys that can play, multiple guys that can play. Look what they've done to Mahomes. You wouldn't want that weaponry? Heck yeah, I would. And on top of that, yes, Mahomes is very gifted and talented, so it certainly helps. But we have got to stop focusing on the QB position solely in Jacksonville. And we have to admit there has not been enough weapons here in Jacksonville for a very, very long time to sustain offensive success, to scare teams, to make people game plan for you on offense. And there just hasn't been enough of it. We're relying on the QB position, which is the most difficult position to find an elite player at. We're relying on that player to be elite too much. And so far, it hasn't been so good. All right, so what
Toby
do you got?
was part of that team.
That was. So that was a Toby Gerhart, Corey Grant, Jonas Gray.
I think, well,
you answered my question.
Yep, you see the point.
So anyway, how about I'm done with Antonio Brown for now.
Right.
Unless some
are
people are
sure?
chiming in. I think so.
Okay.
Nobody's chiming in. I didn't miss one. No, Meta World Crazy says no. He doesn't like the idea of it. I disagree. Sean Sharp says the Jaguars ending another career/run. First Jim Kelly, then Dan Marino, now the Steelers Super Bowl window.
It's a good point. They are responsible for that. Beat them twice in 1 year and just starts going to shambles.
Yeah, might have been. Get Buckets says all day, make the moves you have to in order to get AB and Foles. AB immediately makes our other receivers better. Agreed. Then draft OL and tight end. Well, that's the other thing. If you get a guy like this, it would open up what you could draft, what your needs are in the draft.
True.
Mara Brewing Company says Brown's numbers are terrible when Big Ben doesn't play. He's trending in the wrong direction. You know what? I want to see it to believe it. And you might be right, but I want to see it to believe it. Robert Donovan also says needed to pounce on Kareem Hunt. I'm not sure need I would put in there, and we know how you feel about it.
Do we have to get into it? Because we can get into it again.
No, we did it.
Yeah.
You go back, check out yesterday's show on the podcast, or check out the show on Facebook, ESPN 690. I got excited about the podcast there, didn't I? 362-9901 is the number if you want to chime in on the Antonio Brown conversation. But first, a little stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Cruise control. Oh, 8-year-old me is going to be pretty excited for this one. Got to go with the legend, Michael Jordan. Cruise control. Was asked last night over a press conference about just what Russell Westbrook's been able to accomplish so far, and Michael Jordan was posed the question by a reporter, what's more impressive, 10 straight double-doubles, 10 straight triple-doubles, or 30 points in 30 straight games. And Michael Jordan's response, being the GOAT that he is, that's more impressive to win 6 championships. Mic drop. Thanks for coming. We'll see you again soon.
Avoided it.
All
right. Answer the question. What's more impressive?
6 championships, Brent.
That doesn't count.
Okay.
It's not on the list.
You really put me on the spot here. 10 straight double-doubles at 30 points in 30 straight games. You almost got to go. I would go 30 points in 30 straight games. Wouldn't you? Kuz, feel free to chime in here.
Yeah. No. I'm going with triple-doubles, man. Triple-doubles have to be more impressive. 10 of them in a row?
Here's the kicker. James Harden's pretty close to a triple-double on most of those games.
What I'm saying.
That's the other part of it. So, like, it may have been not a triple-double by, like, 1 assist or 1 rebound. He's still averaging, and I was trying to pull it up before I chimed in. I don't have it now. But there are games where James Harden will do, over 30 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds. And then it's like, well, to me, that 30-point streak with that, especially last night, he almost didn't make it. I know he's got that shoulder injury now. I think he had 31 points.
Yeah.
So it was close. But when you look at it that deep, I would say he's so close to a triple-double that I'd go with that situation.
During this next time out, Kuz, do me a favor and tell me how many shots a game that Harden's taken.
And do me a favor, too. So the fact that, he's almost averaging a triple-double, you know what that tells me? Not that he's a good basketball player. It's the fact that where's the post presence on the Oklahoma City Thunder? Does anybody else want to grab some rebounds? He's the point guard.
Okay. Does anybody play harder than Russell Westbrook?
No, I'm
not. Balls
hey,
on every possession.
That's not what I said, Brent. The guy definitely plays hard. I've watched him a couple times this season. My point is, where's the post presence? Is Steven Adams not getting it done or what?
Because you know what happens is Steven Adams box out and then lets Westbrook get the rebound. There's a lot of stat padding that they talk about with the Oklahoma City Thunder,
yep.
And Marcel probably won't be happy with me saying that, but
there's no stat padding at all with James Harden. I mean, none at all.
Well, there's just no other options for him in shooting, on that team at the moment.
All right, go ahead and pump your brakes, and then I'll more on this.
I think a lot of people in this room need to pump their brakes right now. Not going to name any names, but pump your brakes. NBC and the NFL. This past weekend, an article, I think on E60 came out with Bob Costas. Talking about how
my
he
hero
was
growing up.
And this is a guy who, he does all the Olympics and stuff. And dude, I attribute a lot to me watching Olympics revolving around him because he sets the scene. He commentates on it. And it's a special thing that Bob Costas does. Even when he had pink eye, the dude still came in, did his job, man.
All right.
Okay.
You're getting carried away with Bob.
Sorry, but don't get me wrong though. I'm an Olympics junkie. No, but I'm saying I'm an Olympics junkie, and a big part of that is because Bob Costas. So yes, I have a lot of respect for him too as well. So what ended up happening was in Super Bowl 52, he was asked about a month before, being asked to be commentating on the Super Bowl. He was asked to resign from that position because of his comments on concussions and whatnot. Yeah. NBC and the NFL asked him to step down. Here's my issue with it. It wasn't like he said something controversial. Bob Costas just said what everybody else is thinking, in that NFL and concussions, there's a direct correlation. And I understand that the NFL doesn't like to hear that. I understand that the news networks that are trying to promote the Super Bowl don't like to hear that. But let's be honest here. When I played football, I understood the risks. All those guys in the locker room that I shared a locker room with, they understood the risks. Everyone understands the risks. So to make it taboo and to say, well, you can't talk about concussions, people don't want to hear that. No, to hell with that. Talk about the topics at hand, and concussions was a big thing. So the fact that Bob Costas was just trying to do his job, he was trying to bring something into light, and the result of that was him getting let go from commentating the Super Bowl, it's atrocious. And I think it's something that is not right.
Win one for media, Bob. More thoughts on that, and also Harden and Westbrook next on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and another day, another chapter in the Antonio Brown saga. Today, the embattled wide receiver tweeting a goodbye to the Steelers fan base minutes later. Sources began to leak to ESPN 690.
Basically, he's informed the Steelers of their, quote, position. So he wouldn't divulge the details, but, you could probably read between the tea leaves that position probably includes wanting to be elsewhere. But I'm told he has not been released, David, and they can't make a trade until the new league year, so this could still drag on.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler covering the Steelers for us. Brown, not the only wide receiver in the headlines today, as we're now reporting the Texans plan to release Demaryius Thomas. The four-time Pro Bowler is 31 years old, currently recovering from a torn Achilles. And here's something you don't see every day. Michael Jordan stirring the pot. When asked if he was impressed by Westbrook's triple-double record or Harden's scoring this season, number 23 said he thought it was tougher to win 6 championships. Touche, Mike. Stream us online at ESPN690.com. Hit that listen live button and enjoy.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most important things we can have, and sometimes the most elusive. I'm Mark Anajar from the Law Office of Anajar & Levine. If you've been involved in a car accident, call the law offices of Anajar & Levine at 904-600-4000 for a consultation.
Office in Jacksonville.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jackson, ESPN 690. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year, the 2019 Hyundai Kona. This new crossover utility vehicle is a perfect fit for a family who doesn't need as much room as the Hyundai Santa Fe, but more room than the Hyundai Elantra. Their customer service is top-notch at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, and you never have to worry about a high-pressure, haggling sales approach to you buying a car. My friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville offer the no-risk, no-pressure approach. If you don't absolutely love your new Hyundai, you can bring it back within the first 7 days for your money back. They also offer a lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Schedule a test drive today at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com or just swing by the showroom on Atlantic Boulevard. I'm confident your experience at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will be just as good as mine has been. Tell them Brent Martineau sent you and drop me a line on social media. Let me know how your experience was at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jackson, ESPN 690. If you've received a letter from the IRS and cannot pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you. Fee payment plans are affordable for everyone, and get the protection you deserve. That's most important. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Get the protection you deserve online at jdavidtaxlaw.com as well. The number again, 904-507-4777 or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Get A.B., Demaryius, and Haskins. Demaryius Thomas doesn't do much for me. I think he's done.
Yeah, he kind of looked like Gronk trying to play safety a little bit for the Houston Texans this year.
And Iceman DLG, he's not coming here unless it looks like a win-now team. Well, he might make it a win-now team. We'll see. And again, he doesn't have a say. Remember that. If people want to trade, it's a trade. It's not free agency. So there's a big difference on that front. That doesn't mean it will be an amenable relationship. Now, that's a different part of it. I get it. But the initial part of, hey, AB, is this where you want to go? That ain't happening in Pittsburgh. Welcome back, Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart. Kuz. All right, let's break it down. We did the stay in your lane.
Yep.
And Michael Jordan took the easy way out. 6 championships. What's more impressive is the question. 10 triple-doubles in a row or 30 straight games of 30 points.
Here's the thing about the triple-doubles. So the average of those 10 games, I have them right now, 19.7 points, assists at 13, total rebounds at 13. So they're a little more than just like a basic, like, bottom line triple-double.
Yeah, so he's like above it by a couple of rebounds and assists.
Yeah, but James Harden, literally for an entire month of games, is at he's at 41 points if you average it out. and then almost 8 rebounds and 7.5 assists.
Yeah, pretty close.
Listen, if you're Russell Westbrook, you are the team. And so here's before you say James Harden's a team, I understand, Brent, because I saw you getting ready to jump down my throat. Let me make my point here. So if you're Russell Westbrook, yes, you are the team. Adams is boxing out.
Paul George.
You're getting all the rebounds and stuff like that. They do have Paul George as well, but we're talking triple-doubles. He only has to score 10 points a game. That's not that hard. All right. So scoring 10 points a game, it's basic.
There is a game where he had 13. There's a game where he had 14 points in these.
Riveting numbers coming from the scoring from Russell Westbrook. So that's my point. Where we go to 30 straight games of 30 points, there's off shooting nights. Even the best shooters sometimes would have off shooting nights.
To that point, there were 2 games in this 30-game streak. The reason there's not 2 more games on it is one game he scored 29 points. The game before that he scored 35. So if he had one more point, we'd be at 32 games.
How many shot attempts per game? Does it say?
James Harden field goal attempts average throughout this little streak here 27. He's also averaging about 15 threes.
What's that average for shooting percentage?
Well, he's 20.
I'm horrible at math.
Well, no, he's just saying he's taking 27 shots a game, and that's not counting getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, free throw line is about
the free throw
13.
line a lot.
He's there about 13 shots a game in this span.
Guys have off shooting nights.
All right, I ask you this question.
Hit me with it.
If LeBron James wanted to score 30 a game for 30 straight games, could he do it?
With the team he has now, probably.
I don't think he could right now. I don't think he could.
Because of the injury or because...
Yeah, well, just because he's the prone of an injury, number one. Number two, sometimes it seems like he... And now, before you jump down my throat again, because I see you getting ready to stare up here, Brent. And this happened in the playoffs, too. Well, there's some lapses where he doesn't take control, and he wants to swing the ball around. He wants to be the assist guy.
Yes, he does. I'm asking you, though, if he wanted to score 30 a game.
Why doesn't he, then?
Well, because I don't think that's... I think he's more of the Russell Westbrook mold, where I think Russell Westbrook, by the way, could give up a few assists and not get the triple-doubles and average 5 more points a game or 7 more points a game than he's been averaging. My point in this conversation is when Russell Westbrook went on this run of triple-doubles a couple years ago, which was amazing. And I don't want to take anything away from him, and I really appreciate the way Russell Westbrook plays. The dude plays hard, man, all the time. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I'm concerned about him sometimes. I'm worried for him.
I agree. I mean,
there's times I get scared for him.
There's a lot of guys that take plays off, and he does not seem to be one of them. So I admire that. But when that happened, it hit me then that in this NBA, I think there are a handful of guys, and if you want to go back even 10 years, you'd add more guys to the list, that if they wanted to accomplish this feat of getting more triple-doubles than usual, I'm not saying they would hit the Russell Westbrook mark, but a lot more than usual, I think they could. And LeBron James stands out to me. If LeBron James wanted to go grab 12 rebounds a game, and he wanted to dish it 10 times a game, and he wanted to score 15 points a game, I think he could do it at will.
Well, then why doesn't he? Because guess what? Russell Westbrook is doing it, and you know what? They're in 3rd place right now.
Yeah.
Where are the Lakers sitting?
I think
they're in 10th place.
Well,
they're not going to the playoffs.
I'm not necessarily talking about him right now, coming off injury and all this stuff, but I'm just saying over the year, like last year, saying a healthy, I probably would say yes to this question even right now, but you know, in the course of playing last year with the Cavs, I think he could have gone on a run of 10 straight games with 10 straight triple-doubles. I think he could name his points. He could name his rebounds. And then you do have to rely on a little bit the other team your teammates to make some shots on assists. I just think it's out there in this day. I mean, what are the scores of these games now? Scoring is way up.
Pace is up. They're playing faster than ever.
And so it lends to that. I just think we're comparing apples and oranges when we're talking about these streaks, triple-doubles, compared to the old days of Oscar Robertson. And it's just a different game.
Teams are playing defense back then, let's be honest. I mean, defense, especially during the regular season, is hard to find. It's like almost watching an all-star game.
So we still haven't answered the question. Well, you did. You said 30 points.
30 points in 30 straight games.
Well, hold on. Let me see if I can sway this for anybody, because here's another thing to bring up. You know, you guys say it for football, and I guess it kind of, conveys to every sport. Winning is the number one priority, obviously. So Westbrook in this triple-double has only lost one game. OKC has only lost once, where obviously 30 games is a longer span, but, you know, the Rockets have lost like 9 times. So does that sway you at all?
No, not really.
Because you can kind of argument for either way.
Well, I think what you can argue is they are doing everything they have to do to carry their team to win. I mean, Oklahoma City is winning because he's getting the triple-double, because his production. James Harden, I agree. I mean, I think he's kind of a man by himself at times, so he's got to put up these kind of points to keep them in ball games. I don't think either one is going out there saying, all right, I got to shoot it 27 times, got to get to the free throw 13 times so I make that 30-point mark. Do I think they're conscientious of that streak? Yeah. Do I think that Russell Westbrook is going to try like hell to get a 10th rebound in a game? Yeah. I think they are aware of this. Well,
Steven Adams will help him too. It's been like you see it a lot on like film, like, and NBA Twitter will put this up all the time, where Adams just kind of backs into a guy and clears house. And Westbrook comes running in and grabs the board. So it does happen.
But
like that does happen.
I get that. I mean, you're going to fall into some rebounds, but he's crashing the boards to be able to come away with 12 rebounds a game. So what's more impressive, Kuz? Come on, Drive and Dish podcast. Which one's more impressive?
I got to say Harden solely because in those 30 games, he's like the average is 41 points. Like that's average out of the past
that wasn't the question,
30 games.
That wasn't really the question,
but that's more impressive to me because it's over 30, but it's kind of an average is over 40.
Yeah.
All right, that's why I say that.
It's impressive.
Win for Harden. Sorry, Brent.
Yeah, you're not right.
Hold this L.
You guys are not right.
Hold it.
The triple-double.
He has a podcast dedicated to the NBA.
Yeah.
I think we're right.
Well, I have a podcast, too. And you're wrong. Hot takes. I feel like we've had plenty of them.
I'm sweating here already, man. Gee.
Next on ESPN 690.
This is Golick and Wingo.
NFL insider Adam Schefter is with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Tom Coughlin comes out with this statement. Where do you think this is headed?
They're going to be exploring other avenues, with them being one of the most, if not the most disappointing team in football, starting at the quarterback position. They'll start there, and they'll branch out, and I would expect that they'll obviously discuss the idea of moving on from Leonard Fournette, as they will with other disappointing players there this offseason.
Golick and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Hi, this is Earl Ron, president of New South Window. New South makes windows that are energy efficient and hurricane resistant. You get both. If you have aluminum windows, it's time to get rid of yesterday's technology. New South is the factory and eliminates the middleman. Don't even think of buying windows until you see what our factory can do for you. New South windows are made in Florida, for Florida homes, by Florida workers, because we know Florida weather.
Going on now. For every 2 windows you buy, get the third free. Visit newsouthwindow.com.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Hot take time.
Oh, I was trying
you
to write
ready?
something.
How's that eraser doing?
Fantastic.
Is the Magic whiteboard a little disappointing today?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Well, there's not a lot of great breaks here, so you missed the ones that me and Stuart had. The one that we had was
there were some good ones, yeah.
Yeah, how messed up is a chicken omelet?
I did miss that.
And here's another question for you. So besides the chicken omelet, what is another food that you eat where the animal is? You eat it before it's born and after it's alive. So it's obviously a chicken omelet because of the egg, and then it's a chicken, so it's dead. Name another food like that. Stuart named one right off the top of his head, which I thought was impressive.
Wow,
it's got to be beef somehow.
Nope.
Really?
I was going to say like
another.
Is it like the what am I missing?
Could it be like sushi with the eggs on top?
Yeah, there you go.
Caviar. I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sushi caviar. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
There we go.
There we go. We got
obviously with sushi, you eat the eggs, so like the caviar, like Brent mentioned, and then it's raw fish, so it's dead.
There you go.
Yep.
There it is.
Deep thinking.
Yep.
Deep sea fishing.
Yep.
Here on a Tuesday on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. I tell you what, you want to deep sea fish a little bit or some of that stuff, Weber will take you there too.
He's a big fisherman, huh?
No, he's a
I'm
deep
saying,
thinker.
no, you don't have to tell me that. I understand.
A couple of the deepest thinkers I ever remember. Actually, I'll go one. One guy, deep thinker guy on the Jags. You played with him.
Evan Britton?
Nah, at least he didn't. He might be, but he didn't strike me that way.
Jared Odrick?
Well, Odrick would probably fit, but I feel like you use the phrase free thinker sometimes. I think he fits that a little bit.
Deep thinker. Offense or defense?
Defense.
Really? Well, it's obviously not Tyson, because Tyson didn't say anything.
I think you played with him. I shouldn't say you did, but I think you did. Defense, secondary.
Not Rasheen.
No.
I have no idea. Hit me with it.
DC.
Don Carey?
No.
Oh.
Derek Cox.
Oh, Derek Cox. I did play with him.
You played with him, right?
Yeah.
Derek Cox to me was like, at least that's the way my perception was. Real deep thing. Nice kid. Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great teamate.
And actually had some success.
Yeah.
Not as much as, you'd hope. But
injuries were a big thing for him, too, unfortunately.
But he had, I think if you look at the list, he's still pretty high on the list of interceptions in Jags history. But yeah, he was kind of like you'd ask him a question.
Yeah.
And it would almost be like this 5-second pause.
Yeah.
Of, okay, I'm going to gather this. I'm going to digest it. And then I'm going to spit it back out to you.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong with it.
For sure.
That's what I always remember about him is I classified him as a deep thinker.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess I never noticed that from him.
There we go. Get some hot takes for us or what, Coos?
I do. Do you want to be Jag specific or just NFL specific for the first one?
I don't care. You take us the road we're leading.
All right, we'll go NFL specific first. And I'm twisting this guy's words a little bit.
That's good. That's what we do.
Yeah.
See, that's what they do. Yep. See, media people.
Zero credit and just twist his words.
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's get it.
But it's good. So the comment is a team. Most teams in the NFL that end up with Brown and Bell would be making a playoff run, if not a Super Bowl run.
Most teams end up with Brown and Bell.
Well, what is most teams? Are we saying like, I don't know, 20, like 50%?
I guess that's the question.
I'll give you a 24 out of the 32.
Yeah. Do you think that could work?
Go ahead, Brent.
I would say, 24 is probably a lot. So let's say between 20 to 24. I'd say, yeah, I think so. I think in a league full of parity, or most of the time, there's a couple of basement dwellers. But outside of that, like last year, if you put Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown on the Jags, they sure as hell ain't 5-11.
True. No, yeah. I mean, obviously.
I don't think they're close to 5-11.
Everyone's record's going to be better because they're on the team. That's a granted.
And in the NFL, it just takes are those guys worth a game each? And if they are, then a lot of times, I think they're worth more than that to some teams. But I'm saying overall, if on average, they're worth a game each, a win each. Well, you're talking about 2+ wins. Well, 2 more wins in an NFL season puts a lot of teams in the postseason.
So, and this has been kind of the, what do I want to say? This has been kind of the topic the whole session with you, Brent, in this radio time that we've had today, is the fact that you just want to throw out logistics, throw out salary caps, and just, I want him on my team.
Yeah.
And let's forget about the numbers for a second.
I'm a DraftKings special today.
Junkie, yeah. So the teams that need Antonio Brown and Bell, the teams that can afford them are probably teams that, obviously, there's probably a handful of teams that can actually afford both of them without making some vast roster changes. And those teams that can afford them are teams that probably don't have a good record, that don't have a good team in place, and are probably in need of a quarterback. So if we analyze those 3 things, then I'm going to say no, they don't make the playoffs, because a prime example would be the New York Jets. The New York Jets could afford right now, they could afford to have both guys.
They could.
Are they going to the playoffs? Absolutely not. Why? Because the New England Patriots are in your division. Thanks for playing. The Oakland Raiders.
The New York Jets were 4-12.
Yeah.
On their team, like I said, I think on average each guy's worth 1.
So 6 and I'm bad at math. 6 and 10.
Yeah, 6 and 10. But I'm saying on that team, are they worth more? Would be my point. Like they have nothing on offense.
They're not making the playoffs though. There's no way.
Are they number 2 in that little division there, like right behind the Patriots?
Probably not.
No. Oh, you mean, yeah. I think you could make the case. Could you get 4 more wins if you put those 2 guys on offense? You know, Jets had a pretty decent defense.
So do the Bills. So, like, it doesn't.
That's my point. So, if you put those guys on offense.
But this is my point. Like, okay, so the Jets not going to work out. You're not going to the playoffs. Bills not going to work out because they have LaShawn McCoy. And granted, Bell's better running back than LaShawn McCoy, but is he going to make that much of a difference? Because look who's throwing the ball. We're not even sold on their quarterback yet.
I'll go with you on the Jets. I think the Bills definitely do.
Make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they do.
Wild card.
Yeah, 10-6. I think they flipped their record. They were 6-10.
That's generous.
I already told you. I think the Jags at 5-11 would make the playoffs with those 2 guys.
I mean, I could sit down and break every team that had a crappy performance last year.
Well, I'm trying to. Like Oakland would not.
Oakland would not.
The 2
Arizona,
the Broncos would Case Keenum if he had those 2 guys.
Arizona wouldn't. But the Broncos had Phillip Lindsay performed really well this year.
They did.
They have a solid running game. The running game was the calling card.
But their wide receivers weren't very good.
No, not really. Sutton was all right.
The 2 teams that really came up, at least in the thread as I was reading it, was the Lions and Bengals.
That would have made the playoffs.
Not many people could agree. It seemed like they were arguing for a while about.
The Lions are 6-10. You put it with Matthew Stafford, those 2 guys. Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Karen Johnson was pretty good at running back for them this year, though, and they've always kind of lacked a running game. Actually, the first time in a long time they had a running back average over 100 yards. So
but this is the great part of this study, though, is again, it's not necessarily you don't necessarily replace the production. To me, you replace the entire game plan, especially if you want 2 of these guys. But I'm saying with 1 of these guys, with Bell, and I don't want Bell. I'm fine with. I don't care about Bell. I want Brown. And Brown, to me, changes the way you defend the team. And when you change that, what does that do? Well, that opens up the playbook, makes the quarterback better, makes the running back better, makes the tight end better, makes the 3rd wide receiver better. And so the trickle-down domino effect of these guys, like you just mentioned Denver. Denver's Lindsey had a fantastic year. Great story. But I still don't necessarily think people were game planning for Phillip Lindsay. You know, was he drawing that kind of attention? Was he like, oh, we're really worried about? I think part of the reason he had a good year is because people weren't worried about him.
True.
Johnson in Detroit, were they worried? Or, were they stacking boxes because of him? And you can't stack a box now if you got Antonio Brown on the outside.
That's a good point.
So, again, I don't know where the threshold is.
Yeah, it's
certainly significant, I think. But the flip side of that, to your point, is what I said going into a break about 45 minutes ago, and that is, you can give me all the big-time receivers. Very few win big, right? I mean, Julio Jones, almost. A.J. Green, no. Antonio Brown, no. Even Randy Moss was a no. DeAndre Hopkins,
Calvin Johnson,
no. Calvin Johnson, no. I mean, Jerry Rice, yes. I'm not saying you don't have any examples.
No, for sure.
But it doesn't seem like just because you have a big wide receiver, a fantastic wide receiver, a great wide receiver, you automatically win. So I'm arguing against myself here a little bit.
But
that's a fair point.
I appreciate it, Brent.
I need to help you out.
Thank you,
because I won that take.
Oh.
To each their own.
All right. The Jags specific one was posted by Light TV L on the Reddit thread. It says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust the Jags' development in talent in the upcoming years? The person's comment was defensive players, 10. Offensive players, 4. And then the response is where the hot take comes in and says, what defensive players have the Jags developed beside Telvin and Yannick? Have they really developed this in the past?
All right, you go through that defensive side. And now, listen, this might not be all development, but look at production. Calais Campbell has had his 2 best years of his career here. Malik Jackson had a fantastic first year here, made the Pro Bowl. Obviously went on the downside this past year. I think Avery Jones has been a hell of a developmental player.
He might be the biggest one, honestly, for what he started out as. This is an undrafted free agent, or was he? Yeah, he's an undrafted free agent out of Georgia.
Undrafted,
yeah. To where he is now.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest transition from college to NFL. Yeah, I put him at top of the list.
Marcel Darius, again, unhappy player, is playing really good football in Jacksonville. So, again, I don't know where that falls into development, but they're playing really good football. Yannick Ngakoue is a slam dunk for that.
Hands down.
I mean, I think a lot of credit goes to him, but slam dunk. Miles Jack, I think, has been slower to turn into a star. I still think he's a really good football player.
But I think he's playing out of position, too.
Fair enough. Telvin Smith made Pro Bowl when nobody else thought he could even play in the NFL, or few people did. Jags got him as a fifth-round pick. I think a fifth-round pick making a Pro Bowl is development. Jalen Ramsey, I think, is Jalen Ramsey. I don't think any coach is ever going to get credit for Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey's getting credit for Jalen Ramsey.
A.J. Boye had his best year as a pro in Jacksonville. Was he already good? Did they develop him? Not sure. And then I would leave the safeties. I don't know from a developmental standpoint. Tayshaun Gibson made a Pro Bowl in Cleveland. Yet to make one here. He's played good by some people's account, not so great on others people's account. So, yeah, I think this defense, I think you have to give credit to from a development standpoint. I really do.
And you got to take into account, too, I mean, they've had some higher draft picks on the defensive line. The dude from Notre Dame, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, that they brought in.
On the defensive side?
Defensive tackle from Notre Dame.
Yeah, and then he went to San Francisco.
But basically, my point is the fact that and they brought in some young guys, but guess what? They're so stacked on the defensive line and in the back row of the defense that they can't afford to keep everybody.
Yeah, they had to cut him.
Yeah, so sometimes when you bring in the young talent, they might do well and you might be able to develop them, but you don't need to because you're so loaded on defense. So I think I think me and Brent agree with this one, and it's kind of a no-brainer if you ask me.
And on the offensive side, I don't know. There were times it looked like they were developing Blake Bortles into an AFC championship quarterback, and then it all flopped on the offensive side. So I think DJ Chark will be interesting. D.D. Westbrook will be interesting. Even Marquise Lee under Keenan McCardell will be very interesting to keep an eye on.
No one's been proven yet, though.
Not really.
Yep.
So maybe that's a 0 or a 1. Hey, let's do it again tomorrow. Kyle Parker will join us tomorrow on the show. For Austin Lane, Coos, I'm Brent Martineau. I'll see you on TV on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and another day, another chapter in the Antonio Brown saga. Today, the embattled wide receiver tweeting a goodbye to the Steelers fan base minutes later. Sources began to leak to ESPN 690.
Basically, he's informed the Steelers of their, quote, position. So he wouldn't divulge the details, but, you could probably read between the tea leaves that that position probably includes wanting to be elsewhere. But I'm told he has not been released, David, and they can't make a trade until the new league year. So this could still drag on.
ESPN's Jeremy